The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Speaking podcast. This is the Thursday edition of the podcast. Of course, joined here by starting off here with the America's favorite degenerate himself, Zack. What's up, buddy?
You know, I'm being a degenerate. I'm losing week in, week out. I'm making sure the next big casino gets built. That's what I'm doing.
Again, I won this week.
Man, I'm gonna have to go back to the podcast, start listening, because
I mean,
at this point, I'm thinking shit's rigged.
I mean, brother, listen, I'm tracking the stuff. I'm marking what we got, and you know, things happen. I mean, what can I tell you, man? This is definitely a worse year.
Advantage of a pothead. You're like, he ain't gonna check. He ain't gonna check.
Oh, but you trust me. You trust me, of course.
Absolutely,
you do. So those
as long as it's not my money, yeah, I trust you.
Anyway,
if I ask you to pay up a bet, I know I'm fucked.
I mean, I know you. That's true. I know that. Well, I mean, you won the last 2-3 years, so not like I'm not lying to you about it, you know. But no, I have been doing well on my picks though, for the most part across any.
Oh, you've been killing it.
Yeah, not now. Look, my actual best bets still for like 5-game best bets. I had a down week after going 5-0 weeks in a row. I went 2-3 this week.
Would you like to know why you went 2-3?
Dallas.
No, Ernest.
Why?
So I waited and I signed on to Facebook at like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, one of those hours, and you popped up right at the top, and it was your best bets. And so I looked at it. I'm like, all right, this fucker, he's been 2 weeks in a row, and you lost money last week. Let's be a pussy and just copy him.
So you basically blame yourself for that one.
I jinxed you. Yes, yeah, I jinxed you.
Yeah. Although the bet of the week was actually the one I hit on, the Cleveland +9.
I know, and that one rubbed me so wrong because you kept during our little conversation. You talked about how it'd be a trap game. And you sly motherfucker.
Well, no, it was a trap game. They won outright. Shit.
I know, but it didn't matter. You were locked in no matter what. Yeah. And so that killed me. I hated that game.
Yeah. Anyway, you got 2 buys this week of the Niners and the Steelers. This is obviously easy answer. Who needs it more?
Oh, Steelers got to get healthy. Excuse me, 49ers need.
I'm gonna say, what the fuck?
Yeah, I feel bad for the Steelers. Like they are firing on all cylinders. You don't want a bye week right now.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Thursday Night Football. Texans at Jets. The Jets are 2-point favorites. The over/under is 42. Zach. Uh-oh.
Do the Texans have any wide receivers not on the injured list right now?
Well, so you have Diggs out for the year. You Nico Collins still out, right?
Yep.
You Tank Dell.
So you have Tank Dell to throw deep, or you have who's their tight end?
Forgot his name.
All right, if you forgot someone's name, that scares me now.
Is there any more receivers right now that are like being? I mean, if I'm the Texans, though, is Calvin really on the radar? Well, I mean, it might be too expensive at this point now, but I would say if the Rams are lost, yeah, the Vikings last year, I'll say Cooper Kupp, but now the Rams are back in the race again. So,
I mean, if Texans pull this, No, because I don't know if Jacksonville would do an interdivision trade.
And not only that, I think Ridley's also contract also too. He's making a lot of money. I don't think they can afford that contract. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Any case, the Jets. I mean, they're gonna get this right at some point. 2-6, right? They're gonna get it right.
Look, I'm actually going to pick the Jets.
So am I.
There's just too many injuries, and you couldn't tell me who the tight end is, so I know I'm screwed.
Not only that, people are like wondering, well, why the Texans like dogs to this game? It's a bad Jets team. Here's why: number one, short week. Number two, injuries. Number three, you're on the road. Number four, the Texans, while at 6-2, have not, they haven't really been. Is this wrong? Is it out of line to say they haven't really been impressive? Like they haven't put together a one complete game where like a dominant game that I felt like, okay, this is a Texans team we thought we'd see this year. Everything's been close, and you're wrong. This value in winning close games. You're wrong, but
yeah,
I want to see one Texans blowout. It'd be nice. I haven't seen one yet.
I don't know if it's gonna happen now.
No. Give me the Jets as well too. All right, Sunday. Here we go. Cowboys and Falcons. The Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. The over under is 52. Zach.
If the Falcons had a legit running game, this line would be like -7. It's the fact the Falcons really don't have a legit run game that I think you can make this line so low. But I'll still take Atlanta. All right, Dallas is trash.
They are, but this is also a game that the Falcons would lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know why I know that? Because they did this shit 2 weeks ago in Seattle. Similar situation against a team that's probably should beat because you're at home and the teams are just kind of reeling, and then you decide to just not show up. I mean, maybe Atlanta does decide to play better this week. I don't know.
Well, you're playing Dallas, so that should make a difference.
Well, I'm not picking Dallas to win this game at all. Atlanta should win this game, but the best bet's the over. I think we lost scoring this game, actually.
All right.
I like the scoring in this game.
No, it does make a lot of sense, but I'm at this point. I really think Dallas is done for the season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're done. All right. Next one. Dolphins at Bills. The Bills are 6-point favorites. The over-under is 49, Zach.
So unfair to Tua. All right. He comes back. Dolphins are scoring points last week. They're going to score points this weekend. And they're still probably not even going to be in the game. Give me the Bills.
Yeah, same here. Which is crazy because the last 2 weeks when Tua got back, the defense was playing really well, but it almost couldn't score anything. Yeah. And then Tua gets back, and he was like, "Oh, we can breathe now." Well, you breathe too much now because Kyler Murray went up and down your asses all in that fourth quarter. So, and pretty much killed you any hope of winning the playoffs at this point. I would say.
Well, the AFC is slightly weaker than the NFC, but
it is. The Walker picture is definitely weaker, and there's a chance for them to climb back in. But I mean, if we're being realistic now at this point, do you see them like? Because even with Tua, this is the first really good game he had this year.
They still have a game against the Jets, right?
I think they have 2 games with the Jets, don't they?
Then there you go. There's 2 wins right there, buddy.
Well, I mean, so the Jets don't, well, if you assume the Jets don't get the shit back together, man, but we'll see. But I'm Buffalo anyway. Buffalo here. And after this game, they'll be buried at this point now. So, yeah. Raiders at Bengals. Bengals 7.5-point favorites over under 46.5, Zach. Uh-oh.
Come on. Every time I watch a Bengals game, I watch like the worst offense. I'm probably going to be stuck watching them again on TV at the bar because it'll be like the worst game and I'm stuck in that position at the bar. But give me Cleveland. All right. Again, here's a team that I think is better off losing a game and trying.
Cleveland. Wait. Cleveland or Cincinnati? Hold on.
No, I think Cincinnati's going to cover.
Okay. I heard Cleveland. That's why.
Sorry. No, I think
Ohio,
Cincinnati's going to win. And so that's why I think it's better off for Oakland to lose. So
Yeah, with you too. Also, even at 3-5, I still think the Bengals are going to the playoffs because we just kind of teased a little while ago. The AFC wildcard picture. If it started today, you have either the loser of the Steelers, Ravens, AFC North, the one who doesn't win the North will get a wild card.
yeah.
Then the other two teams right now are currently, I believe, off the top of my head, are the Broncos and the Chargers. I think also. Okay.
Chargers.
Yes. That's a 6 and 7 seed there. Do you see that holding up? No.
No, because I mean the Chargers have looked horrible. So to hear they're even in a wild card spot is mind-boggling.
Well, for me, I think it's more about the Broncos. I don't know if they still sustain this. I think the Chargers can sustain this as long as they're healthy, because I believe in Jim Harbaugh. But you know, of all those teams in the mix, beyond them, you have the Colts at 4-4, and then after that, you have the Bengals at 3-5. So the Bengals are not out of this thing yet. Now they have to start getting shit together now. But between now and January, I guess they win 6 on 9 games.
But why couldn't the Colts also make a run? I mean, they made the move this week.
Yeah, made the right move with Flacco. Yeah, I agree with that, and we'll get to them in a second. So yeah, why not the Colts and the Bengals get in, and then both the Chargers and the Broncos are up, maybe.
Because Sean Payton's got a baby breeze in his hands right now.
Bonus is pretty good, but I mean, asking for a lot to close the deal, though. I mean, I will say there, I think looking at the schedule also, I think the Broncos' chances are actually a little higher. I realize because of their schedule, but we'll see. You still got to prove it. You know what I mean? So, but that being said, Bengals to cover as well too. I think the Bengals start their ascent now to the playoffs now at this point. All right, we have Chargers at Browns. Chargers 1-point favorites over under 43. Zach, intriguing game. James Winston, oh boy.
Will Jameis get paid in the offseason? He has a legit chance to bring a team back into the playoff hunt. Could he build up his image again? And would Cleveland push Deshaun Watson's return back until late in the season? Because, dude, give me Cleveland right now. Like I said earlier, I don't believe the Chargers have anything on offense that would scare me.
Well, I do like Cleveland in the game, but I will take the under. By the way, much like for the Bengals, a little less of a chance for the Browns right now because they're a game behind the Bengals now in the division in the race. But with that defense and James Winston is a big wild card, if he can be more positive and good going forward, who knows? The bar is lower now. Like I think 9 wins gets you in the AFC.
I think in the AFC maybe even 8 wins.
Yeah, I was going to say that maybe even 8 wins if you feeling frisky.
So,
but 9 wins to clear. I think you clear the bar at 9 wins. To be honest with you.
Oh yes.
So yeah, but give me the under this one. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game. Both these teams are kind of mirroring each other. We'll see how that goes. All right, in a game that no one. Well, you got Cleveland, right? You said right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Cleveland could go big, man. I really do.
Oh no, I think so too. I think Jameis can stay consistent and not give away games. We'll see. We're asking for a lot there because we know the James Winston story how that works. All right, we got Patriots at Titans. Oh God, here we go. This game's who wants to watch this shit? Titans 3-point favorites over 38. Zach. Who's watching this fucking atrocity?
This has to be an over you would pound, right?
An over?
An under, excuse me.
Oh yeah, under. Absolutely.
Tennessee's defense against the Patriots, I don't care who they throw out. It's gonna be probably a 17-point offense at best. So now going against a top 5 defense, yeah, give me the under.
Yeah, for me too. The only 10 I see is the 10 points they'll be scoring in this game total. Seriously, I mean, these teams are terrible. Tennessee, like I can make an argument right now that Tennessee's worse team in football. I think between them and Carolina.
Carolina, yeah.
Yeah. Tennessee's fucking horrible.
Hey, Rabel, you're about to get paid. I'm sure your phone's already blowing up, but you're proving how good you were.
Yeah. Keeping that shit together. Keep that shit staying together. Give me the under. I think Pats win this game, though. Honestly.
No, legit, they do have a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We have, it's our game again, guys. Commanders and Giants. Commanders 4-point favorites over under 44. Zach, Hail Mary. Whoa. What was your reaction to that?
So, look, I had to go to the bathroom for like a while, right?
Yeah.
So I might have actually missed the actual Hail Mary and had to catch it on a replay.
Yeah.
But I thought you were taught to knock the ball down. And everyone now is just trying to catch it. So thank God for a bounce. So, yeah, we're still in first. We never should have lost that game. You never deserve to lose a football game when you've led for 59 minutes and 37 seconds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were the better team, and the football god said that.
Yeah, so the Bears cornerback also celebrating on the last play of the game. I didn't see that. I didn't see that replay though. I'm trying to find it right now on the YouTube. Too early. Let me see if I find it here. But yeah, that was a heartbreaking loss for Chicago. I'm trying to find the there it is. He was taunting. I see it now. He was taunting him. Okay, never mind. I see it. What an idiot. He should be cut from the team right there for doing that shit. Anyway, this game's easy. Look, here's the deal. Yeah, watching this game, right?
Oh, absolutely. This one will not be close.
Here's the thing. It's funny. The Giants are a better road team than a home team. If this game's in Washington, this is a pick'em game, honestly, because New York does play much better. You saw it on Monday. It's Pittsburgh.
No,
the game they played only here, week 2. The Giants, if they had a kicker, they win that game.
You absolutely should have won in week 2.
Right. So the Giants have been a better road team this year than a home team. Have they won a home game? No. You know what's funny? The Giants haven't won a home game all year. So it's funny.
That's right, because they're like, I think
Cleveland.
you only scored 1 touchdown on offense in all your home games so far.
Isn't that pathetic, dude?
Yeah, and the question is, how is the coach or GM not going to be fired when fans have at home seen 1 touchdown?
Yeah. Give me Washington here. I'm with you. Give me Washington. All right, another shit game. Saints at Panthers. Saints 10.5 favorites over under 43.5. Zach.
Well, this might have been a close game. Possible Carolina win. But Bryce Young's going to be starting. So I don't care if it's Spencer Rattler or not. I'll take the Saints.
Really?
Oh, yes.
I think the Saints are so bad right now that I don't think it should be played by anybody over any team this much many points. I don't give a shit if it's Tennessee or Carolina. Saints an atrocity the last 6 weeks. Seriously.
All right, you take Bryce Young.
No, look. I'm taking the Saints to win the game, but 7.5 points.
Oh, you're taking the under, aren't you?
No, I'm taking Carolina points. It's in Carolina. It's in Carolina too. Also,
I could never take Carolina. Never ever. They're so bad. That'd be like betting Florida State.
Oh God, who's worse, them or Tennessee?
I mean,
because Tennessee's 1 win is against a Dolphins team without a quarterback. Carolina's 1 win was against the Raiders.
That is true. In that regard, yeah, maybe Tennessee really is the worst team in football right now.
Yeah. But I like Carolina points, though. I think they still lose the game, but give me them points. All right, next game here. Sneaky game of the week. Well, one of the big games of the week. Broncos at Ravens. The Ravens are 9-point favorites. The over-under is 46.5, Zach.
That is far too many points with that kind of defense. All right. I know the Ravens are going to come back out and try and score, but that defense does play real man defense. So give me the Broncos plus all the points.
You taking Denver?
Yeah,
Dude, I'm
that's too
sorry.
many points.
I get your logic, man, but I think the Ravens are so fucking pissed from last week after what happened playing against Cleveland. I think they're gonna blow the doors off the Broncos. You know how they are. They play better against team on level. The Broncos right now, by virtue of the record, are on level. I think Lamar and the boys go off. I think 9 points is a gift, honestly. Give me the Ravens to win this game in a runaway, honestly. It's my lock of the week, honestly.
All
All right.
right.
Yeah. All right. We got 4 o'clock games here now. Bears at Cardinals. Cardinals 1 point favorites. Over under 44.5, Zach.
At this point, Kyle Murray is still the better quarterback. And Marvin Harrison's starting to come along with that team.
Yeah.
So I like Arizona.
Now, Call of Duty is out. For the record, Call of Duty is out. But I'm gonna leave some faith for it in Kyle Murray. Arizona's good, really good. The NFC West, by the way, wide open. You got 3, 4, and 4 teams. Cardinals, Bears. No, sorry. Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, all 4 and 4 coming to this week, and the Rams are 3 and 4. We got a massive toss up in the NFC West right now. Best, probably the most for me anyway, the most intriguing race in the rest of the year for me. Because I don't think this division takes more than one team in the playoffs. So
yeah, I would still lean towards the NFC North being the most intriguing, just because of how it'll fall with who wins the division,
right.
and the fact they could still potentially put 3 to 4 teams in the playoffs.
True. But I think Arizona wins this game, like you said. But I'm taking the under actually on this one. Bears defense is really good, so we'll at least go with that. So all right, Jaguars at Eagles. Eagles 7.5 point favorites. Over under 45.5. Zach.
I feel like Jacksonville's mailing it in. All right, even the players know they're mailing it in at this point. And the Eagles are going to be coming off of probably their best offensive game of the season. Give me the Eagles to cover.
Yeah, me too. I like Eagles well too. Also, I don't know if things are okay in Philadelphia in terms of like internally, but it seems to be the last couple of weeks and winning cures all, I guess, right? I still also no disrespect to your boys, but until I see that game against Philadelphia in 2 weeks, I have Philly in the division still. I gotta see with my own eyes that they're on level with the Eagles.
You say that now,
Yeah.
and then we'll beat the Eagles by 14, and it'll be like, look, I'll have to see it in the playoffs before I believe it. Like that's what you're gonna do.
So you're saying I'm gonna move the goalpost.
You move the goalpost so far.
Not really. No, I'm not that bad.
Like I pretended not to see goalpost early in the season, but the kid's for real.
No, he is for real. I'm not knocking
real.
it. No, I'm not knocking it. He's great, but Philadelphia on paper is a more talented team right now.
Also, FYI, it wasn't our coordinator that was the problem out in Arizona. Cliff Kingsbury. Dude did nothing but win more games each season his first 3 seasons there, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't wait to run him off.
By breaking news, the Yankees hit another home run at 5-0. Stanton hit home run. Jeez.
Hey, yeah, he should win the MVP this one if they come back.
He's been amazing. Yep. This is not his recording. Obviously, the Dodgers can win this game. Obviously, by the time this podcast comes out, so all right. But I have Eagles well too. All right, game of the week. Obviously, Lions at Packers. Lions are 3.5 point favorites. The over under is 48. Zach, this is the game right so far. To me, this is my MC title game right now. Currently, it's a huge game.
It's I feel the same way. It's my NFC title game. I'm so scared to pick a team in this matchup that I feel like the only thing I can do is take the over, and I do believe is going to be an over. I know both those teams' defenses will play with passion, but no, we're going to see some scoring.
No, I'm 52 also. The only thing that scares me about that is Jordan Love's injury, but I think he will play. But yeah, the over is the best bet here for me. Detroit might be the best team in football. Might be the best team in football. I think KC's the only team I'm even considering in that conversation. I think they could be KC. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying they could.
Right now, they'd be Kansas City going away.
You think so?
Yes,
it's very possible. KC's defense is really good, though. That's the thing. I want to put anything against them. I feel like the Chiefs. We'll get the Chiefs in a second. I feel like they're probably hiding their best stuff for the end of the year. Who knows? All right. Rams at Seahawks. Rams 1 point favorites over under 48.5. Zach, this is like my sneaky game of the week after the Packers and Lions game. This is my other game of the week. I'm really intrigued with this game.
the Rams and Seahawks are intrigued by.
Yeah, because the Rams are healthy now.
3-4 versus 4-4.
Because the Rams are healthy now, and you know how the Rams are. The Rams are one of those teams that they could be any team on any given Sunday healthy, including Detroit.
The fact you're stressing healthy just tells me, hey Zach, just bet the over, and thank Ernest for telling you that everyone's healthy.
Betting the over?
Yes, I'm betting the over because, good Lord, I did not know everyone was healthy for the Rams.
Yeah, Puka's back. Cooper Kupp is back. You saw last week. Had I known, because we both beat Minnesota last week against the Rams on Thursday Night Football, but we recorded the podcast on Wednesday night. We didn't find out.
I didn't know Puka was coming.
No, because we didn't know until the next day.
Yeah,
the podcast already came out when we found out that they're clear to play. And had I known that, I would have picked them to win. I would have picked the Rams to win outright.
Yeah, that made a huge difference.
Damn right. They're a different team. Dude, they are a playoff team when healthy. Without question. So give me you don't give me the Rams. I already told you I don't trust Seattle.
No, I know you keep telling me that.
And it wasn't that they lost last week to Buffalo. They got their asses whooped.
It was a close game for a while.
It was not.
No? Okay.
No, it's 31-10. It was never close. Buffalo's in control of where to go. Yeah. Just going the first drive and ran away with the game. So yeah. All right. Sunday Night Football. Intriguing game here. Colts at Vikings. Vikings 5-point favorites over under 46.5, Zach.
I would have taken the Vikings going away before the benching.
Mm-hmm.
But one, I think this seals my whole point of why the kid never should have been drafted.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
All right. He was no good in college. It was the whole Trey Lance thing all over again.
Yeah, that's a good comp.
Literally drafting for potential on a guy who basically never started. No. But now you have a whole team rallying around Joe Flacco. So I'm a little scared. I'm going to take the Colts this week, coming off all the drama.
Well, here's the thing with Flacco. Joe Flacco brings stability. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing you have to understand. And it is something to be said that when he's there, the offense looks a lot more fluid. By the way, his complete complete percentage is 57%. Oh, no, 47%. Hold on, 47%. Hold on, trying to find the number real quick.
I know it ain't over 50.
40. It's under 50% though.
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy. His Q rating 57.5. I think it is. That is fucking terrible. And the thing is,
he could go 80 yards from his knees, so he needed to get drafted top 5.
Yeah, I mean that's cute and all, and we knew that he was gonna be a project, but God. But by the way, also AR-15.
If you're drafting a project, you don't draft in the first round.
I agree, but I think I thought he'd be gone in the first round. No, here's the thing though. The whole I think I benched not only because of his play, but also because of the shit that happened during the game.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's the only reason he really got benched.
Why don't you just lie about it? Oh, my hammy hurts. I think I got a stinger or whatever. Lie about it. Why do you say, "Oh, I'm tired"?
Because he was too dumb to realize he could actually just call a pass play and throw the football on the next play.
Yeah. What? And that talk that gets into the whole That gets into the whole like self-awareness thing. He's not self-aware. That's quite
Is it
clear now.
self-aware or is it football aware? Like, he is self-aware to just be honest and not lie. I have no problem with that. But it's the football awareness at quarterback to not understand you can call a pass play from the shotgun on the very next play if you're winded from running.
Well, that being said, you got Indy.
Yeah, I'm taking Indy with thanks to the drama.
I like the over. I think Indy win this game. I think Minnesota will win the game, but it'll be a close game. 5 points is close enough to where I say I don't want to bet that. I don't have confident a feel on this game. So I'm bet the over in this game. I think I see some scoring in this one. So, all right, Monday Night Football. Bucks at Chiefs. The Chiefs are 9.5-point favorites. The over under is 45.5. Zach.
The Bucks are just missing too many people. It's not even fair to have this as a matchup right now.
Yeah.
So give me the Chiefs.
I think.
Or I mean, you said Monday night or Sunday night?
Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Prime time like that.
So I can see
No
this game.
weapons.
Yeah, I can see this game being competitive because the Bucks are, Baker Mayfield's a fighter. They're gonna fight, but I think the Chiefs get a late cover. So Chiefs as well too to cover 9.5 points because that's what they do. So, all right, quick FSU minute. So I gotta tell you, obviously losing to Miami, not a surprise. We suck. But I gotta say though, for what we had in the field, we had a third-string quarterback on the field at this point. They were actually competitive in the first half.
I was so proud of them.
Yeah,
so proud.
Yeah. And that says more. Honestly, that says more about Miami. I'm gonna say it again. Does Miami deserve to be number 5 in the country? Yeah, fine. Are they the 5th best team in the country? Fuck no, they're not. I will take Tennessee over them right now. There are teams below them on that in the top 10. I will take Miami right now. Dude, they almost lost to Valtech. Barely beat Cal. Had a miracle comeback against Cal. In a dogfight with Louisville. And you have Florida State, who's probably the worst team in college football right now, hanging around with you in the first half at home.
And the Power 4, they're absolutely the worst team.
Yeah. What? And you want us to take you seriously as a playoff team? Look, you're gonna get in the playoffs because you're in a Power 4 conference, and you're unbeaten. And your schedule's shit. Your signature game coming up is probably Duke or Georgia Tech. Like, come on, what are we doing here? Like, you should go unbeaten. But don't act like Canes fans. Don't come here and act like, oh, we're back and this and that, and we're gonna compete, dude. I would take Alabama with 2 losses over you guys right now.
Oh, I would take Alabama in that matchup
right now. Alabama right now 2 losses.
But I'd take them over Oklahoma.
Who, Canes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm not saying you're not a top 25 team or even a top 10 team, whatever. But you're not better than Tennessee. That is the better teams in the top 5, top 10.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. So that being said, it is Florida State and Carolina at home. We are 2.5-point dogs. Who you like this one?
I haven't lost a game yet, man. Give me Carolina. Give me Carolina to cover, buddy.
Carolina's bad too, though. They're mid, but
they're not FSU bad. And I would like to revisit this discussion about when can we start talking about getting rid of the coach?
If they lose out. So by the way, for the record, we are not bowl eligible anymore. For the record, so
no. For the record, what decade did we have a worse record at this point?
Probably
like I don't ever remember
the 60s. Maybe I don't remember this shit.
Well,
not my lifetime.
What, when it was actually a women's college and they were still trying to put up a football team? Yeah. Like, this is how bad we are. I don't believe on school record we've ever been this bad.
Yeah.
And I look in Palm Beach Post, I don't ever see any writing about how he needs to be fired.
Yeah. No, I don't know. But I think this reason, if they lose out, I don't think he'll get fired, but there'll be some really serious consideration because this is embarrassing.
He's
This is
had
embarrassing.
one good season.
I agree. I'm with you, man.
1 out of 5. Come on.
Right, about to. Yeah. All right, so yeah, you know what? I'll take Florida State because whatever, because of fuck. One last thing.
Because you're a homer.
All right, one last thing, because I don't know if we're going to record before or after the election next week. Predictions for election? In event we don't do a podcast before the election next week.
Well, I think we're seeing it's already starting to get a little scary out there.
Well, it depends who you're rooting for.
I mean, you're not going to see a Democrat set fire to a mail-in drop-off box in a Democratic county, right? You're not going to see that in Oregon or
Arizona,
in Washington.
Arizona too. Also, I heard.
Yeah, so they're going around to Democratic strongholds and setting fire to drop-off mailboxes, and yet they have record number of Republicans voting. So, come on, are we going to play fair? But here's my more important question I wanted to ask you.
Go ahead.
And I went at this when they first pulled this bullshit with moving Harrison to the presidency.
Right.
The number one voters in this country are over 50 and white. And you got rid of an old white guy for a black lady. Did you really think that was helping your cause? Because at this point in the national polls, Joe Biden in 2020 was 9 points up. Kamala Harris at this same date is 1 percentage point up. And we've already had Roe v. Wade be overturned, and we're seeing this now. You're watching a man talk about doing away with the entire IRS income tax and using tariffs. And his fans are cheering that on as if that won't bankrupt them and cost them a fortune. Like, can we do simple math now on what your man is promising you? You have a man who's being bankrolled by the richest person in the world at the tune of $500 million and an entire social network. And he is being promised a position in the cabinet. And this guy violates labor laws right and left.
Elon Musk, right?
Yeah. Yes. You really think this is going to be better for you in your future because you're worried about one trans boy playing in a girl's sport. Like, you need to stop with your feelings and think about your future's retirement, because I have spent almost 30 years paying federal taxes to Social Security and Medicare. You as well. And guess what? If Republicans get in, all they've done is talk about doing away with that.
Sunsetting it, yeah.
And so we would be screwed. We would be out of that sunsetting. So I want people to realize, our age and younger, what they're really voting for. They're voting to fuck themselves over and over because they're worried about one little boy with a small dick trying to humiliate girls. Like, grow the fuck up and think about your family for real.
Couldn't say any better. You did mention something about would Biden be in a better spot than Kamala right now? I say no, because Biden, prior to being out of the race, was losing every battleground state, like in big numbers. He was down big in Arizona. Like, it's Trump's ahead by 1 point and 2 points in Arizona, for example. He was down 5 or 6 points in Arizona prior to the switch. I mean, every state was Pennsylvania. He was behind 4 points in Pennsylvania in July prior to the switch. And then it's not fair to compare 2020 because, again, there are people who are unhappy with Biden. Biden has something now you can use against him, his 4 years. Whereas in 2020, you did not know how Biden would govern as a president. And there are people now who have now since now regretted that vote because of how they feel, even though the metrics say otherwise for the record. The same metrics that Trump supporters say used in terms of like success, which Biden actually do very well in, the GDP, the whole nine, unemployment, the stock market, the same bullshit that Trump, said for 4 years, greatest economy. Guess what? Those same metrics, Biden is doing better than Trump. But again, people don't feel it in the middle class, and that's the big difference. I'm not saying it's right. It's just, it's not. Oh, it's sensical, but it's what it is.
Yeah, well, those interest rates that you remember from going from Obama to Trump and going lower, they're going to skyrocket with the inflation, with tariffs, and mass deportations. Like, wake up, people. What you're cheering on will screw your country.
And the worst part too, also, is that Trump, if he gets elected, there's no guardrails this time. There's no re-election to worry about in 4 years because he can just do what he wants. And okay, well, I don't care. I'm my 4 years and I'm gone.
Yeah. What happens to interest rates if we go to a tariff system and we're paying 10% of our national debt instead of actually paying the $800 billion a year to just fund the national debt? We can't even afford that anymore, and we bankrupt our debt. Like, what happens to our rating? Come on.
All right, so quickly, if I get you out of here, your prediction.
We're fucked.
You think Trump wins?
Yes. We are fucked because there are too many fucking idiots.
I don't have it. I'm not making a prediction at all on any of my shows this next week. But if you had asked me now, gun to my head, how's it feel right now? It feels like Trump's going to win. But I will say this much though. I have my dad and my brother on this podcast on Sunday, and I did say I believe there was a silent Harris supporter out there.
Yeah, and I hope that's true. I hope I'm screwed by the fact I live in MAGA country of Palm Beach County, and when I go on Twitter, guess what I see? Nothing but Elon Musk and right-wing bullshit.
That's the algorithm though. He's also
exactly. So maybe my view of what's going on around our country is wrong, but man, it's being manipulated if it's on social media like that. The way he gets to control it.
Anyway, Zach, good luck with your picks, and we'll talk next week.
Yeah, man. Good luck,
buddy. You got it, brother. Later.
I really hope you're right.
Yeah, man. Later.
Later.
All right, we are now joined here by 2/3 of the Mindless Wrestling podcast. My good friends here, Rob the Genius, Rob Barnett, and DJ Mincer, of course. What's up, guys?
Hey, man, just grinded through the first week back after vacation.
Wait, you have vacation last week?
Yeah, I was on a cruise.
Oh, you lucky bastard!
It's a good time, man.
You look really relaxed right now, dude.
I am, dude. I'm half asleep right now.
I'm sorry, brother. We'll get to this quickly, I promise.
No, it's all good. It's all good, man. I haven't been on with you in a while. I love these things.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, you know us. We've been throughout this podcast. We've been reacting to lists that comes out, whether it's Complex Magazine or whatever list we see that Rob or one of you guys just send an email, whatever, or a message like, "Hey, let's cover this one." I'm down with it. So we've been covering all these like top 50 lists. Like Complex had one, I think. Another couple of Bleacher Report had one also too. And we covered on this podcast over the summer. Sports Illustrated actually did their own list, but they went top 20 only. Went top heavy in this one. So top 20 WWE superstars of all time. We'll break it down from in 10. So I'll go 20 to 11, and we'll look at the list and see what we like it or not. So number 20, Becky Lynch. Number 19, Mick Foley. 18, Chris Jericho. 17, CM Punk. 16, Andre the Giant. 15, Randy Orton. 14, Edge. 13, Roddy Piper. 12, Kurt Angle. And 11, Randy Savage. All right. So, Becky first. Let's go. What do you think? Becky, is she top 20 already now? All right, that's too high.
All right. Look, I said if you're only going to have one woman, it should be Trish.
I agree.
Yeah, Trish paves the way for these girls.
And look, and I've said this previously, Trish got popular outside of the wrestling bubble without the company having the connections that they do today. And she became a legit good woman wrestler at a time where they were not encouraging that. So she did all those things in spite of, you know,
Yeah.
not with them actually wanting her to do it. And so to me, and again, and you know, I'm taking the popularity stuff in terms of relative. If you look, Trish, China, Sunny, Sable, they were all more popular than any woman wrestler that came out since.
I feel
And
like
they
I feel
all
like
were.
I feel like Becky is here because, and maybe it's just I call it the kind of the you know, because she was actually the face of the company, not just male or female, for 1 year or maybe in 2 years, into 2018, 2020. I think
Some
that
of that's
they make that in.
recency bias, though.
But that's what it is too. Also, I believe.
I think like they wanted. It's like when they do with Bruno. They wanted to pick a woman, and she's the most recent one that was the most popular.
The funny thing is that other than Roman Reigns, he's the only current wrestler on this list, like current this generation's wrestler on the list.
Right.
And yeah, look, like if you're gonna pick one, to me, it's got to be Trish.
I agree. Becky, for you, DJ, too high. Why?
No, I got to agree. I got to agree with Prop. I mean, I understand, again, like we said, recency bias, all the reasons why they put her in there. But in the grand scheme of things, Trish really laid the groundwork for what Becky and Charlotte and Bayley and everyone else moving forward was able to do. They were doing what these girls are doing now. Trish and Lita were trying to do that almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and it's nothing against Becky Lynch. Her run was amazing. She was absolutely the face of the company for, you know, almost 2 full years. Mm-hmm. She probably reached, and she definitely, you know, outkicked her own coverage by her own admission. You know, nobody saw this coming out of Becky Lynch.
I think Height of Powers, she might have had the most biggest ceiling Height of Powers of any female in the history of the company, by virtue of
I still say Trish there. No.
Yeah.
Because
but Trish was never the face of the company, though. Becky could be argued that Becky was the face of the company for 2 years.
But Trish was still more popular then.
Probably. But what I'm saying is that when I came back
outside the bubble and all that,
right? But when I
Trish came in with a baked-in popularity too, though, because she was a fitness model prior to even setting foot in WWE.
True, but what I'm saying though is that when I came back in 2019, and I started asking, okay, so this is WWE now, this is the landscape, who's who, and Becky was the most popular superstar in the company, not just like female star. The biggest star, number one, was Becky, then Roman, or then Seth, and it was Becky number one, and that was what I was fed to believe for the first that year, 2 years. And I think that's why they baked that in. I think that's why Height of Powers, in terms of like how they viewed, you know, commerce and whatnot. I think Becky, that's why they have her that high. Look, for the record, I'm not saying I agree with it. For the record, I think she's too high anyway. I'm just saying that's why they have her at 20. All right.
I still say Trish because look, put it this way: Trish was more popular at a time when they were doing better business.
Right. Let me see. Let's go one by one here. What stands out for me also to, I feel like the middle for the most part is okay. Like I'm okay with like where Jericho's at, Foley. Okay, a little low, but I'm okay with that. Punk's fine. Andre's low. Andre's low here for me.
And then see, I wish, you know, at this point, I wish they would just leave Andre and Bruno off of these lists.
But they're getting love though. They're still getting love though, at least.
I know, but they never put them in proper context. They never do. And so, just if you're not going to talk about them properly, then just don't. Again, it feels like they put Andre on here because they feel like because they have to. And same thing with Bruno. They put Bruno on there because they have to. And they never talk about either one of them in the proper context. I mean, and so I'm just, you know, I would rather them just start from when Vince took over and just make all their lists from that point.
That's how I always look at my list anyway. Is Vince Jr. 82 on? That's why I look at it.
To me, that's what you should do. You should just start. If you're going to do these things, and if you're going for an audience of modern day fans, an audience where, or if you're going for an audience where we're the oldest people, then you should just start from when Vince Jr. took over. Because if you're going to, I mean,
It's almost like it's two separate companies. Like
yeah.
it really is. There was Vince
Essentially
Senior's
it is.
company, and then there was Vince Junior's company. And while their title lineage dates back decades before, Vince Jr. ever took over, it's still, you're really comparing two separate rosters and two entirely separate companies. So I get every reason why they would put in Andre, and in the wrestling scheme, this list is correct. Andre should be on there. Bruno should be on there. But then you've got to omit a lot of guys like Jericho, a guy like Edge and Randy Orton fall off that list if you're doing wrestling as an all-encompassing thing. But if we're just doing WWE, you've got to split it up between Vince Jr. and Vince Sr.'s company, because the only holdover, the only bleed over from that really was Andre. Bruno was done before Vince Jr. took over, minus a couple of little appearances there trying to get his son over. Bruno was done. So, it's an unfair, and you omit people off this list by adding guys like that.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then, like, where do you put, Bob Backlund to be in the top 20? He was champ for 6 years.
That's also been senior.
I mean, Pedro Morales. I mean, he was champ for almost 4 years.
Superstar Billy Graham. I mean, the list goes on of guys that you could make a case for.
Yeah, if you're going to go back that far.
And this bleeds over into the last list that we talked about for the same reasons.
Yeah, it does. So outside of Becky and Andre, now we've agreed on. In this group of 10 from 11 to 20, what else stands out as wow, this shouldn't be?
I would have swapped Edge and Orton. Only because, Edge was gone for 8 years, not his fault. He got injured. Yeah. Very, very important in the history of WWE during a tumultuous time in their business, leaving the Attitude Era, getting into the Ruthless Aggression Era, and then missing out on that PG era. But Orton stands the longevity, and Orton's still going in the company. Edge powdered out and went down to the the minor leagues a year and a half ago. Yeah. So for me, I think you lose a little bit of ground on this list just based on that alone.
Yeah, to me, game interest there. But first of all, I think Edge is too high anyway. I think Edge shouldn't be in the top 20. He's definitely in the maybe 2025 area. I mean, I'm not mad he's in the top 20, but.
I'm a fan. I like the guy, and if you make a case, I'll listen to you. But if you're going to keep him and Orton in the the 11 to 20, you swap places.
Well, Orton should be closer to 10 in my opinion, but that's just my for me. Obviously, for me, my biggest egregious one outside of the two we mentioned earlier, Savage at 11 is egregious. He should be in the top 10 no matter how you slice it.
Absolutely, yeah. How he ended up below that? How did he? And again, this is the Bruno argument. If you take Bruno out, Savage is automatically 9 or 10.
Yeah. I got Savage ahead of guys like Bret Hart and I would argue over Shawn Michaels. I'd argue it. I'm not saying it's so, but
I would listen to your argument even if I disagreed with it.
Right.
And okay, now looking at Kurt Angle's too high. Kurt Angle's
yeah.
Come on.
So I was saying, go ahead, DJ. Go ahead. You're gonna say
Kurt Angle, if I'm not mistaken, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, spent more time in TNA than he actually did active roster WWE, didn't he?
Rob, is that true?
I think he debuted in '99 and then he left in 2006. And then Savage was 7 years in WWE.
Yeah.
And then after that he was gone. He didn't come back until 2017, 2018.
You guys keep going. I'll look up his TNA career.
I'm doing it now, actually. Yeah.
So he was in TNA for a decade. So he was definitely there longer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, he's too high. And they got him over because. Edge and Randy Orton both put in, they both put in more time and quite frankly accomplished more than Kurt did.
I don't think Angle is egregiously high though. I think he's high, but I think he's definitely a top 20 guy.
I think I could come up with 20 people I'd put in him.
I think maybe now
He was in TNA for a decade, 2006 to 2016.
Wow.
He was in TNA longer than he was in WWE.
That's crazy though.
Yeah, when you think about it, it is.
Yeah. That's crazy when you think about that. Yeah. No, Kurt Angle, I say is a top 20 guy, but look, I think maybe because it makes it hard now is that as you see guys in this era here in the last 5-6 years making runs themselves, it starts to dilute the Angle impact little by little. So I see the argument there. Other than Becky, we mentioned Savage, obviously, Andre. I don't see anything really egregious in this set of 10 here, honestly. Piper's right where we should be. Remember, someone had Piper at number 9.
Yeah.
I had a Hogan. Get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, stop that shit. Stop. You're thinking too much.
Yeah.
But
you're using your fandom over your.
Right. All right, so let's go 10-1. We'll go individually 10-1 first off. Bruno 10, Bret Hart 9, Shawn Michaels 8, Triple H 7, Taker 6, Roman 5, Cena 4, The Rock 3, Hogan 2, Stone Cold 2001. Honestly, in my opinion, outside the Bruno part, which Bruno should probably be in. So this is the thing. Bruno is a top 10 guy, though. If you're looking at totality.
He's a top 5 guy.
Probably, yeah. I think they close to nail this list, honestly, on top 10.
Because again, I mean, you look at it like this. If there was WrestleMania during Bruno's career, he would have had like a dozen main events.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
I'll say for the record though, they nailed top 5. Top 5 is pretty much dead on correct. Like the order and everything, I think is right on.
I have no problem with 9-1.
Okay, I'll put Bruno. I put him ahead of Brett. I put him ahead of Sean.
Who's that?
Bruno.
Yeah, Brett ahead of Sean.
To me, he should be no lower than number 6.
Like for me, on this list, like if I'm baking in the old school, Bruno has to be at least top 6.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Right.
Probably number 6, but
number
top
6. Yeah, I can't put him ahead of the 4 guys at the top 4 because those guys have not only affected just the business but also commerce outside of wrestling too. On top of that, it has to matter. Even though Bruno did that in the small way from what Vince Senior's days were. Triple H is a top 10 guy, yes, a little high, but yes, top 10 guy. Sean is right in the spot where he should be. Brett also too. Again, Savage should be in top 10. But the top 6, honestly, the order, they nailed the order, in my opinion. They nailed it completely on the nose what I had mine.
Yeah, that probably lines up with how I would do mine.
This is the first top 6, top 5, I want to call it. I've seen my publication nailing it to the T ever, honestly.
Well, I think Sports Illustrated probably looks at it a bit more objectively like we do versus like, a cage side or whatever you were pulling the data from on the other ones. They think a bit more with their hearts, I think. And sometimes that's not always fair when you're doing these lists. Like sentimentally, I get every reason why Bruno would be on there. I mean, the guy, Rob just spelled out every reason. The guy was, champ for 11 years cumulatively or something like that.
Yeah.
So you can't certainly discredit that, but it also skews the list a bit.
Yeah. How do you feel the top 5, 6, whatever? Rob, you like it or you have issues with that?
I would. Okay, I guess I'd have Bruno higher, obviously, but
yeah.
Okay, so just leaving him out though, I think the 6 that they have are the top 6.
Yeah.
If we're not going to include Bruno here, I think those 6 are correct. And we can always go back and forth on the order because, of course, there's like with Austin, with Rock and Austin, there's the longevity thing working against them. Although Rock now, since he's come back, he's kind of answered that question. So with Austin, there's the longevity question.
There's an argument to be made to move Hogan lower. I won't do it, but like the Rock's longevity and relevancy 25 plus years later, it means something. It's got to mean something at some point. And then he comes back, at the age of 52 at WrestleMania this past year, and he's $1 million still. Looks like $1 million, and still pushing commerce, and still affecting storylines, and doing it in ways where it's not just like fake. It's like it never left.
I think with Hogan, his personal life and his political leanings have definitely hurt where he's at.
I agree,
because I think if none of that happens, if the sex tape thing never happens, if the racist comment never comes out, and he shuts his mouth politically, Hulk Hogan still moves the needle, still makes commerce in 2024. He does.
He still moves the needle in weird ways, though.
He does.
He still moves the needle. But again, this is the problem with the IWC. You have to separate the stuff. Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea are two different guys.
Yes.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, it was an A-list celebrity in the same way Dwayne Johnson is today in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, like, I've always said, if Hogan's in the top four, you can make cases for guys ahead of him. Austin, obviously, head of power, is the biggest superstar history of the company. The Rock, obviously, what he's done, longevity as well, too. And John Cena, of course, still longevity as well, and relevancy now. But Hogan should be nowhere lower than 4. Nowhere lower than 4. That is egregious.
And in regards to Hogan, look, despite all of those transgressions we mentioned, he still does business.
He does.
Yeah, he does business, yeah.
I mean, look, he's still headlining those conventions and all that stuff, man. And they brought him back into the fold.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing also too. Also with the political leanings thing, which he's actually been a little more vocal about now with this year and this cycle. Okay, cool. But a couple of guys on this top 10 also have the same leanings. I don't see him getting the same.
Yeah, but I don't see him at conventions ripping their shirts off and making assholes out of themselves. But
that's true. Taker did interview Mr. Trump on his podcast.
He
last
did.
Week.
This is also true.
For the record, I have no problem with that. That's you. You do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I know Sean is also a lean right guy as well too. Hunter, I guarantee is a Trump supporter. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me at all. Just be fair. Just be fair about it and judge the work. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think they nailed the top 6, and honestly, 7 through 9 is the same group I have, probably a little bit different though. I might put Sean ahead of Triple H. I may put Bret ahead of Triple H, maybe a little bit, but yeah.
And for me, it would be probably just because of longevity with the company. Sean, Bret, then Hunter.
Bret,
in terms of like importance to the company. Now, obviously, if we're judging Triple H and the fact that he's now creatively in control, we're having a different discussion. But if we're just looking at wrestling career, it's Sean, Bret, Hunter.
Yeah,
for me.
And like I said, Savage is the only one that should be in the top 10 with them also too. That'll clean my 10.
Now, man, because Bret is another one. Like when you actually look at it, like his run at the top wasn't very long.
It wasn't, but his run with the company was over a decade.
Right, and the company also went through a lot of shifting
for him. The height of his power, as EJ likes to say, was at the lowest of WWE's power as a company, and that's so unfair to him because he put in incredible work, and he has such an incredible portfolio during that time period. But it was in the worst of times for WWE. We were fresh off the steroid trial. Mm-hmm. We were fresh off of several major controversies, and the fresh paint smell had worn off on WWE at this point, and Bret was the guy during that time period, and to his credit, he carried the ball very, very well, which is why I think he deserves to be on that top 10.
And not only that, I know Austin Rock gets the credit for the Attitude Era, but you can argue that Bret Hart was the start of the influence that moved that needle into that era, because between him and his heel turn, and then the whole Montreal thing, as we all know, was what started the Mr. McMahon character, which altered to Austin and all this stuff. So Bret, in a lot of ways, should get some credit for being the what's the word I use when you
catalyst, if nothing else.
Right, that's it. The catalyst that brought the Attitude Era, because we probably don't get Mr. McMahon without Bret.
Oh, we absolutely don't.
Well, it wouldn't. Not
that version.
Because that turn, the way they did that angle, wouldn't have worked with anybody else but Brett.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if Brett has stayed. What would happen? I'm telling you, one of the biggest what ifs ever is that what if Brett did stay, for a couple more years?
There's a lot of what ifs that come out of if
Yeah.
Brett had stayed.
Because
That's a whole podcast episode, my friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's
because,
I'm writing that down for the next retro.
He's penciling that in. Let's play what if.
Absolutely.
Because especially with that Sean got injured just a few months later, and they kind of didn't really have a top adversary for Austin for that time, which is why Vince had to be the adversary.
Unpopular opinion: Austin beating Brett for the world championship would have made more money than Austin beating Sean for the world championship the way he did.
Now, are you saying that based on Sean being hurt or just Sean in general?
I'm just saying in general, there was more heat between Brett and Austin because of that feud.
Because I agree with you, for the record. I do agree with you, because you remember year prior, Brett and Austin at Mania 13, which is, to many people, have as a top 5 main match all time.
Yeah,
certainly on my top 5 all time.
Brett and Austin at 14 would have been, in my opinion, bigger money than.
I agree 100%, because Brett only cooled off because of the contract situation.
Yes,
Brett was the biggest heel in the company in '97, and to me, that would have him handing the baton off to Austin in '98. I mean, granted, Austin didn't need help anyway because Austin was already red hot no matter what. But having it be handed off from Brett to Austin, as opposed to Shawn Michaels, which to be honest with you, Shawn Michaels really didn't have a impact on that feud. Shawn happened to be champion at that time.
Yeah,
and they had to bring him Mike. And to be honest with you, Mike Tyson was the one that made that feud bigger, honestly, because
they needed it. They wouldn't have needed Mike with Brett and Austin.
Right.
Because the history was there from 13.
That's a great point there, buddy. That is a fantastic point. So yeah, I think Brett deserves more credit for the launch of the Attitude Era. Honestly, he won't get the credit because obviously it's the two guys. It's Austin, it's The Rock, and all those moving parts, man. But God, man, Brett deserves more credit. This is why he'll always be a top 10 guy for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Brett always. I always say, from a personal standpoint, Brett is on my Mount Rushmore. I'm such a mark for Bret Hart.
Like you should be.
Always.
You should be. Absolutely, you should be. All right, one more thing. We'll get you out of here. I know they have some of the notes of things to talk about, but did you guys watch the Mr. McMahon documentary yet?
I did. Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Wait. Rob, you haven't watched it yet?
I just didn't care.
Why?
Because I've already made up my mind about that dude, and
I understand that, but still,
maybe one day. And also,
I encouraged him to watch it. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
I've still been sharing it. I was sharing a Netflix account, and the last time I tried to use it, the account sharing police came after me. So
they
make
it hard. They make it hard now to do it. Honestly, I used my mom's for a little while, and I got my own account. I'm done.
Yeah, I got to get my own account before Raw moves over there, of course. But so the last time I logged in there, that whole thing came like, you haven't logged in from this address, blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine, okay.
I guess I'll watch Hulu.
DJ, you say you did watch it though.
I did watch it. I enjoyed it from an entertainment standpoint. There was nothing overly. There were a few little things where I was like, "Oh wow, okay, I didn't know that," or I didn't know it, the depth of it. They went into a little more in depth, but Vince has always played things close to the chest, and I don't think it revealed anything particularly polarizing that we didn't already know or at least suspect. I think the best part of the whole thing was him sitting there for every episode going, well, I'm really not that guy. There's the guy on TV, and then there's me, and everybody else is like, no, he's really that guy.
Well, I didn't learn anything that we didn't already know. In terms of like the outer work, his influence in the business, all that. To me, I reviewed this with Duke from Duke Loves Wrestling on a couple weeks ago. That the most intriguing thing for me about the documentary was learning about his personal life, his relationship with Shane and Stephanie, and
that was very good.
Right, and then of course to his childhood trauma, with
Yeah.
his mom and his stepfather and his father.
And I found the time period where he took the company over from his father in the first episode they covered that.
Yes,
I found that very fascinating.
And how his dad was playing hardball with him too.
Yes.
And his dad, and he countered well with that. And I've always said, like, I am not tortured when it comes to Vince at all. I know Vince is not a good guy. I know Rob made this peace with him. But I've always said there's in terms of a guy that a CEO who runs a company, who cares about his company, there is no more hardworking person I've ever seen in any line of work that I've seen Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is by far, his work ethic was second to none. He is, to me, in any form of life, in terms of like just running a company that I've ever seen at that level, he's one of one.
And see, I don't. I'll say this. That is kind of what makes it so disappointing. The other parts of it, because in terms of how hard he worked and how dedicated he was to making that company successful, those are admirable qualities. And his ability to kind of identify the one thing that could take somebody from being just a good wrestler to being a superstar, stuff like that. Look, he's to me, I think, he's the best ever as far as identifying that thing. And now he was more of a, I think more feast or famine with him. They were like when he whiffed on something, he whiffed bad. and
oh yeah, when he whiffed, he whiffed.
A lot of whiffs.
And so I think that's one of the difference between him and Hunter is that, like, Hunter doesn't strike out as bad, but also I think in a lot of ways the ceiling isn't quite as high either.
Right. His hits, Vince's hits, they hit. I mean, again, look at the list. Look at our list just ran over a little while ago. The hits hit.
Yeah.
In big ways, and to where it transcends not just wrestling but pop culture. And that's Vince.
And so that there are a lot of admirable, just from work ethic and dedication to making that company successful, and just being able to pick out that one thing that can make a difference.
Yeah.
Those are admirable qualities for somebody running a company, but like all the other stuff is just,
Of course. But that's the one thing I'm able to separate that from him. So, but him and then him as a person and then the company itself. It's actually quite easy to separate.
Yeah.
It really is, But thank God the old man's gone. Thank you for what he's brought to my entertainment world, but I'm glad he's gone now. So there you go. So anyway, that was good. You guys want to plug anything?
Rob, go ahead.
Well, just our show, the Mindless Wrestling podcast every week. Me, DJ, and Jason, and my own show every 2 weeks, roughly. The Rob the Genius podcast. And once I finally settle on a better recording platform,
oh yeah, that's right.
I will have more frequent episodes. but Spotify for podcasters being basically shrinking it down to almost nothing. Just
they're changing up this stuff again. Yeah, I saw that. So, DJ, anything else you want to?
Now you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Mindless Pod, and our podcast, the Mindless Wrestling Podcast, drops every Saturday on the Chairshot Radio Network and all your podcasting platforms that you listen on.
Yeah, Twitter. I mean, the cesspool known as.
Oh
Twitter.
Jesus, yeah, it's gotten bad, man.
I'm telling you what, I'm really considering dropping my entire account. I haven't decided yet though, but it has crossed my mind. It really has.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I've got you guys on Facebook and I've got your numbers, so I can find you anywhere.
Exactly. So what we need to get a hold of you guys, it's easy. So
yeah.
Anyway, good job, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm. All right, last segment of the podcast, and we are joined here, of course, an old friend of the podcast. It's been about maybe a year, 2 years since then.
2 years.
2 years. 2 years, almost to the day, I think. Almost
midterms.
Time. Yeah, midterms. It is conservative author and friend Dean Simpson with us. Dean, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing excellent. How you doing, Ernest?
I can't believe the election is actually as is recording anyway, 6 days away.
Thank God. I'm ready to get over it.
You over it? So see, okay.
Well,
so I don't know how you digest media and all this stuff, regardless of what side you want, all this kind of stuff. But I'm to me, I hate saying this because I know people get mad when I say things like this, but like politics to me is like sports in a lot of ways. Like I follow all the news stories, and a lot of my intake is mostly like bipartisan. Back and forth on both sides. Like I hear perspective and stuff, and so I actually enjoyed the daily discussions and talking points, whatnot. And also it's productive, of course, and and I know a lot of people like look at me like I'm nuts. Like how can you do listen to this stuff all day long and you get into it? I'm like, well, listen, this is I want to hear the pulse of the country, what people, how people are feeling and what's going on. And I actually try to avoid listening to mainstream media because I just think that stuff is baked in and just agenda driven. So I try to find more things on the independent side that has a little more authenticity to it. So how do you deal with like intake your, I guess?
Well,
media,
I have to be careful because I'm kind of a political junkie. I mean, ever since I was a kid,
there you go.
There you go.
Me too.
Listening to 1010 Wins news breaking that Nixon was resigning. I mean, that was the first thing political wise that impacted me. And, listening to my family members, aunts, uncles and stuff talking about it and just the stir it created. And I don't know, I just was always around people that were interested in politics. I'm sorry to see kind of where things have gone.
Yeah.
But it has been, it's always been ugly. People forget, you go back to Jefferson and Adams, it was one of the ugliest presidential campaigns probably in history. Maybe recently there's been a couple of ugly ones going on now, and in 2016 and 2020.
Yeah,
but it's always been the case that it's been a bit of a fight, and I guess that's what we want out of our leaders. It's you don't want somebody, you want them to go through this process and hopefully come out, stronger and better and lead. And that's what we need. That's all we're looking for, is to have somebody, take the reins and put us on a course that is best for what they think our nation is should be.
But you are at this point exhausted, right? Of this whole
yeah. I am. I mean, I'm. It's almost like Christmas. Like I'm waiting for it to happen, and this way we can get kind of like move on from it. And that's how I look at the election day. Like it's just waiting for the day to happen. Unfortunately, the way things are now, the results don't come in. And it seems like because the last several elections, going back to 2000, we've been so tight. And to not have the results, it adds to the anguish. So you kind of like, like in this day and age, I get into it. I was in a little bit of a debate about this back after the 2020 election.
Okay.
And somebody was telling me like they knew how I felt about it. Wasn't a sore loser. President Biden is my president. I pray for him. I pray for our leaders. There's no question about that. I thought there were issues with the election process, the voting process.
Right.
And that I actually, there's evidence of that. And there's executive branches that overrid legislation in the states to implement what they wanted during emergency issue that was going on with the COVID.
Right.
But what I said to them was this. I said, listen, because my one friend, he said, you don't believe the compound question. Like he's going to feed it to me. You don't believe the election was fixed. It was fraudulent. And I said, well, the talking point, this was back in 2020, and I hope it doesn't happen again. But the talking point was it wasn't enough to overturn the results. And I was like, okay, I'll go with that. I don't agree with it, but I'll go with it. But now I want to ask you a few questions, and you tell me, where we go with this. I said, do you agree, though, that there was some fraud? And they said, yeah. He said, oh, yeah, there's going to be some fraud, right? I said, okay. And I said, would you say it was 10 votes? I said, well, I have no idea, but yeah, I guess it was 10. Would you say it's 100? I just kept on going up the list. And I said, you tell me when to stop. And he goes, obviously, I can't. And I said, and obviously, that's the reason why I have a problem with it. If we can close the stock exchange down to the penny in this country, globally, with all these markets, and we could do it in nanoseconds, we have to wait days or weeks before we know who a winner is. And I just feel like that it's ripe for things to go wrong. The longer you wait.
Right. So what is the right way to do it? Is it hand counting or is it digital? Because everything is so seems to be like compromised now.
Well, I mean, from what I remember, they may not still do it because it's not something I look into. But France has paper ballots, at least they used to, and they have results the same day. Now, I know in Florida, DeSantis has promised same-day results.
And for the record, we've gotten that under him.
Yes, and some states have not. And what I do like, though, is I still do think that it should be left up to the states. I don't think we should have a federal election. I think that's ripe for corruption. And I think that's what makes our elections so difficult to manipulate from an outside source, because you're dealing with 50 sovereignties. You're dealing with 50 states with their own systems. But I still think, just as a backup to have something, we have the technology. I mean, we use the sun pass. You go through it, boom, you got it.
Yeah.
How come we're not cleaning this up? And that's a bipartisan issue. That's not something I'm pointing in one direction. I'm pointing at both parties, because both of them have had the opportunity to clean this thing up. And especially after 2020, and with that, was how that went down. And I know people were upset about it.
Yeah.
And after that, you think they would have put in some rail guards and something to hopefully make sure something like that doesn't happen again. I think we might be heading there. I don't know. I mean, but I'm not confident that we have a system in place that's going to make everybody happy.
No, I think no matter what, at this point, we're more polar. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just me being too online and maybe even too close to the situation. Maybe I need to touch more grass, I guess. I don't know. But it does feel like we're a little more polarized now than we were, say, 4 years ago and even 8 years ago. Am I wrong for thinking that way?
I think you're right, but I think the 24-hour news cycle has a lot to do with that. I think some leaders, and I won't pick one side over the other, but I do see it more from one side. I think they do pit us against each other. I think the media has a lot to do with it. It's something I've been very upset with over the years, how they, I write about this in the one book about how I feel like they take a story and they'll run with that story because it fits the narrative.
Right.
And it's a dangerous thing to do because you're not really telling the entire story, whether it's crime, whether it's, the one thing I'm referencing to off the top of my head that I wrote into Fox about, it was Fox News. On the Cryon, they had white cop kills black teen. And there were other issues going besides that case, or other homicides or other this. And, you look into the case and they said unarmed. And I also had an issue with that being a former police officer. I actually had a very good friend of mine that was killed by an unarmed assailant. So if somebody says they're unarmed, they still got two arms. Doesn't mean, just because they don't have a weapon doesn't mean they can't kill somebody.
Right.
And so I took issue with it. I let my feelings known. And I said, when you do that, it almost creates this issue that shouldn't be there. That if you realize how small the numbers are, I hate getting into numbers, but by pressing that issue so much, you're actually thinking like cops are out there looking, like who are we going to shoot tonight? And that's not the case. 99% are out there doing their job and risking their lives and doing the right thing. And you get the one incident, you tell me any profession that's perfect, and I'll say that, it's not the case. So of course you're going to have a few bad seeds, but I just think sometimes the media takes it too far. No, I agree.
The media, especially too, on both sides, it's narrative driven now, and it's a shame. It's a shame because, at the end of the day, they're putting each other against each other, and I thought at some point, maybe after COVID, we can probably find that was probably the barometer, the change into the guard. Maybe you can get over it, and that, to be honest, even worse than things, honestly. And a lot of it because of some of the rules in COVID, which we went over 2 years ago on the podcast, and some of the things I told you, like I even as someone who's a little center left, but also agreed that the mandates were, some of them were egregious. You know what I'm saying? So there was no common sense. It's either or, and you can't work that way in this world.
If I could say something about that, you point on an issue. Yeah. Recently, I think it was yesterday, Kamala Harris said that, she goes, I'm going to listen to the experts. Like she was saying, like she wants people to give her feedback and from wherever it is, and that she's going to listen to the experts. And I'm kind of thinking like and President Biden said the same thing. And it kind of scares me a little bit.
Okay, why?
Because the experts they were wrong in 2020 about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, when we're looking for a leader, sometimes you got to buck the trend. You know, if John F. Kennedy went with the experts, we may not be here talking right now. There might have been a World War III, a nuclear holocaust. Okay. I mean, all his military advisors were like preemptive strike, not only to Cuba, but also to Russia, to the Soviet Union.
Right.
And his gut feeling was like, listen, we're going to use diplomacy until we can't. Like the other option, yeah, we can have the preemptive strike, but it's not like they're just going to sit back and just accept it. So we're going to be in a bad way. So sometimes it was one of the things that I'm concerned about, because I'm hearing this more and more, like, we need to trust the experts. Even the word expert upsets me, because, like, where do you go to school to get that title? Like, yes, you might have experience and you might have education in it, but experts are wrong.
Right. I totally get that. I totally get that. What has stood out for you? Crazy election cycle, for the record. What probably the craziest cycle I think I've ever been a part of, and that's saying something. But through this election cycle, what has been the most thing that stood out for you the most?
Oh my God! I mean, you had 2 assassination attempts. You had a president, unprecedented as far as I can remember, stepped down from the party's ticket. Yeah. You had somebody put in that didn't go through a primary. So all of the above. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing about a half of the, like, every news cycle, you'd be like, oh, this is going to be the news cycle straight through. I mean, it's, how can that be? And then, like, within 2 or 3 days, you're on to something else. It's like, my God. So you said it right. I mean, this has just been a crazy cycle. And that's why I kind of want it to be over already.
Yeah.
I kind of want, like, let's get the votes in. Let's get this going. Let's have a peaceful transfer of power. And please God, that's the case.
Yeah, this has been like 2 assassination attempts. Again, the Biden thing, even going back to, like a crazy primary too for the Republican Party, and then of course the Trump stuff, the Trump cases, the court cases, and all. Oh my God! I mean, that's been forgotten too also. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's so much.
This guy was in a New York City courthouse for what was it, like 6 weeks, 7 weeks in a freezing courtroom?
Yeah,
and I'm forgetting about that, because that was like 6 months ago. So I'm forgetting about.
Yeah,
and that's been that's actually something I want to discuss with you tonight.
Go ahead.
Is this law fair? The other day, somebody reached out to me, and she's in the media business, and I really appreciated her email. And what it came down to was, her question was, she couldn't vote for Trump. And I know a lot of women that can't. I know
is she a liberal, or do you know? Or
well, she's in the media. I think if I had to say, she's independent. Okay. I mean, she wants what's best for the country. So, and I'm sure the progressives do and the conservatives do. So you have to ask, and this is actually how it snowballed a little bit, because the question, she's like, what am I missing? That was a question to me. What am I, because she knows I'm a conservative. I'm going to be voting for Trump. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
So she's like, tell me the other side. I need to find out, what's going on here. Like, because you're looking at it like it's a no-brainer, and she's looking at it like, I can't vote for this guy. And we wound up getting together the next night. And I said to her, I said, listen, you have to vote, and this is for everybody. You have to vote your conscience.
Yeah.
This is a binary choice.
Just like Ted Cruz there for a second. 2016 Ted Cruz at the RNC.
and I said, and that goes for everybody. That's why we have more than one flavor ice cream. We're not all going to agree. And I said, and then she listed in the email the things she has an issue with Trump with, and I couldn't defend them, because the guy does do things that I just go, and she's like, one of the things was about, certain things with women, and, he was, there was a time, and I couldn't defend this. There was a reporter that I guess wrote a bad story about Trump. You know how you can get sensitive, and he got upset, and he's in one of his rallies, and I think this was, I don't know if it was 16 or 20, and he starts, mimicking the guy with MS. And it was just, it reminded me of when he went after John McCain, and saying something about how
getting captured.
It's just like, there's certain places you don't go, because you're not going to win. The guy was a POW. I mean, politics aside, just come on. You got to give some people some slack. So what I said to her was, I go, if you take personalities aside, because she was actually very honest about it. She goes, as much as she dislikes Trump, she felt that Kamala hasn't given her a reason to vote for her.
Right.
She goes, and I agreed with her. She looks good. She looks presidential. I think she's toned down that silliness that sometimes she's been accused of, laughing maybe a little bit overly overt. The word salads, I think there've been a few here and there when she gets into a bind with certain questions because I don't think she wants to get locked down, and she also has a past record. So she's trying to do this dance. It's very difficult, plus she's also hooked to Biden. She's still his VP.
Yeah.
So I think she's been very conservative in that sense. So what I said was, you have these two candidates, and you look at their policies, and most people would turn around and say, what's the most important thing in the election? And then number one is mostly the economy. Okay. Now we had an issue in inflation, which I kind of relate to the economy. I don't know why they keep it as a separate stat, but we have inflation up there. We have immigration up there, and we have abortion up there. And I'm sure I'm missing a few down the line, but let's take those top four or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said to her, so whatever, is most important. Now, where I really appreciated our email, because it gave me some insight. And that's why I always love talking to people with different points of view.
Yeah.
Because it made me realize, like I would say to my wife, and my wife kind of has a similar point of view as I do. At least she better. No, I'm only kidding. Because we'll go the other way. Like, what are we missing? Like, why are people voting for the other side?
Right.
And we see things from one way. And I said, well, that's why we need to listen to other people. And this lady the other night, she turned around and she said that she just couldn't bring herself to vote for Trump, but couldn't give me, like, in terms of policy, like, what policy has he done? It was personality. And then on the other side, okay, give me the policy that makes you want to vote for the other side. And she couldn't do it. And this is why she sent me the email. Right. And I said, okay, so you have these top issues that you want addressed. So you have to figure out who's going to best be your advocate for those issues. Right. And I said, but where I get nervous is this, and everybody's missing the ball. I'm telling you, you can go to any news station. You're getting this here, okay, Ernest, because nobody is talking about this. And I'm telling you, this is the book I'm working on now has to do with the end of Western civilization. And I've done a lot of study going back in history about democracies, everything James Madison looked up when he went to the Continental for the Constitution Congress for the meeting. Everything that he researched, I was looking at, and it's kind of scary that nobody is okay. So I said, look at those things, you make up your own mind to her. And I said, but here's the issue the one issue is not even on the radar. It's not even getting a percentage point, is the filibuster. And she goes, Dan, I don't really understand. Like, I heard it, and it was like they had to have 60 votes in the Senate. And I said, well, actually, no. I said, they actually have 51 votes. And I said, the 60 votes is to get it on the floor for them to vote. So that's the technicality. So yes, you need 60 senators. In 2013, Harry Reid cracked the filibuster. And once he did that, it was like cracking the seal on something. It had never been touched before. Okay. It had been adjusted in 2017 during that legislation. They revamped it. So at the time, they wanted to stop these filibusters. And a filibuster actually comes from pirating. It's a word in Spanish and partially Dutch. And they were just like, the senators were just getting tired of these people getting up there and just killing time. They had a lot of work to do. So they came up, and originally was you had to have 2/3 would stop the filibuster. And if that was 2/3 today, that would be 66. They changed it to 3/5, and that's where we get the number 60. Okay. So if you can get 60 people to turn around and say, listen, we're not listening to you. We're going to vote on this. It's going to the floor. End of discussion. I can't tell you how important this is. We get rid of that filibuster. All right. You don't have to look or guess what's going to happen. I can tell you what's going to happen. All you got to just do is look south of the border. All right. Look at Venezuela. Look at El Salvador, and look at other countries in South America. Mm-hmm. What they did was they went, and this was what Madison was concerned with. They did away with their kind of filibuster. They went to one-party rule. In Chavez's case in Venezuela, he had a Congress that was with him, so it was the same party. Mm-hmm. They basically got everything they wanted passed, and they always turn around and say, "Listen, it's holding us back. The courts are holding us back. We need," and even here, this is what they say. We're losing because we're not getting these things pushed through Congress. So, and the Supreme Court gets involved, and it's a mess. So they say, we can get rid of this filibuster, we can get so much more done, and they're right. But what happens is once somebody gets control like that, you're not getting it away from them pretty much without a revolution. Now, Venezuela, before 1999, was one of the wealthiest. Actually, I think it was the wealthiest country in South America. All right, and had a great economy. Chavez gets in there, and things go south. And it has like huge amounts of natural resources there. It's a rich country, but the people are poor. 94% of the people in Venezuela live below the poverty line. Yeah. He says, how did that happen? That's why it's so important to vote. It happened because of policy. Because what he did was he packed the Supreme Court. He's able to get everything passed. Anything that went to the courts, what they did was they turned around and said, well, it has legitimacy. It went to the court. The court said it was okay. It's the law. So I'm doing everything right. What our founding fathers, our framers had in mind was, let's force compromise. And if we just have a majority, which we do in the House of Representatives, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if we just have a majority, all we're going to do is just basically one day have mob rule. And that's why every democracy prior to ours has failed. And that's why truly we're not really a democracy, we're a constitutional republic. Right. Okay. But if you start thinking, now Harry Reid already did. And to me, I don't want to say anything ill. He's gone. But
he passed away?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. His legacy, in my opinion, he had damaged. The Senate is known for the greatest deliberative body. How they get together, they discuss everything. It moves slow, and that frustrates people. Mm-hmm. But there's a reason for it. Now, it hasn't always been perfect. I mean, you use the same filibuster, and you go back to the 1800s. Yeah, it was actually the Democrats, not even just the 1800s, in the 1900s with the Civil Rights Acts. It was the Democrats using the filibuster to stop the legislation for civil rights. So when it was convenient for them, they used it. And it wasn't until 1964 was the first time they really, through help with the Republicans, were able to break that filibuster. And that's why the civil rights went through. Right. And people could turn around and say, but look at all that time that was missed. Because, you had a Civil Rights Act that went back to the 1870s, post-Civil War. Mm-hmm. But the 14th Amendment, this is where Plessy versus Ferguson comes in. They're separate but equal. The Supreme Court, 9 people that were never elected, okay, they turned around and said, no, yes, the 14th Amendment has to do with equal rights and all and under the law. But if you could show that it's of equal, then you could have separate schools and separate this and separate that. So for like 60 years until Brown versus Board of Education, this country dealt with this. It's an absolute disgrace. Okay. And you look at the Supreme Court that was then. Now, could people turn around then and say, listen, we need to pack the Supreme Court. They're not doing the right thing. The idea is it's not always going to get it right. That's a perfect example. It's not always going to get it right. But in the long term, if we do away with this and we pack the Supreme Court, so you see the filibuster and the Supreme Court are one and the same to me. Because once you get rid of the filibuster, you pack the Supreme Court. So anything you want to get passed, you pretty much got to get passed because you're picking your Uncle Bill and your cousin Johnny to be on the Supreme Court. They've got to pretty much do whatever you want them to do. But then what happens? And you hear whispers because Kamala Harris has already said that she would do away with the filibuster to kind of avoid Roe v. Wade. She already said that. Well, do you think when the Republicans are in power, they're going to turn around and say, they're going to be like, okay, she did it. We're not going to use it then. We're not going to break the filibuster. No, they're going to go tit for tat. And that's what Reid and McConnell did. Reid did it with the federal judges. He was getting frustrated because Obama's judges weren't getting through the process. So he did the nuclear option, 51 votes. The federal judges were in. What did McConnell say? He was the minority leader in the Senate. Right. He said, you will rule the day. He goes, because sooner or later I'm going to be in power, or we're going to be in power. And what do you think we're going to do? You think we're just going to sit back and say, oh, well, they broke the filibuster and we're not? So what did McConnell do? McConnell did the same thing, but he went a step higher. He went to the Supreme Court. And that is the only reason. This is one thing that upsets me with some of the liberals. They're upset. Oh, he handpicked these 3 judges. Those 3 judges would not be on the Supreme Court today if it wasn't for Harry Reid, and that's an absolute fact.
Based on everything you said right now,
because they would have needed 60 votes to get that 60 to get it to the floor to vote. So they would have never picked 3 conservative justices like this. What they would have had to do is they would have had a compromise. They would have had to take somebody a little bit less conservative.
Right.
But there's no way they're getting that. So by Harry Reid killing the filibuster in the federal level, McConnell comes in as the majority leader. He kills it for the Supreme Court. What happens? Trump in 4 years gets 3 in the passed and through. Okay. And now the left is upset about it. So what do they want to do? We want to change the rules. We want to back the Supreme Court. There are things being whispered, but they're not even really being whispered. They're there. If you listen to them, she's already said she wants to do away.
You gotta be politically engaged, and even more so than just the typical what you hear in the news to understand so many a lot of these terms. Like the filibuster for me, I'm trying to understand what the filibuster is. To be honest with you, still to this day, as much as I politically am engaged, the filibuster is something I still have a hard time comprehending what it is.
Well, I did a bad job explaining it.
No, you did a very good job explaining to me. At least now, this is the best explanation of filibuster I've ever had, ever.
You're being kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
But here's what happens now. This is how you look down. So we already know what happened in El Salvador. We already know what happened in Venezuela. They packed the courts. They got all their agenda through.
Right.
What would happen, really, if either side, but I'm looking at more from my side to the other side,
right,
had full power? Well, we know what happened in California. Okay, single party rule. We see what's happened there. I don't think it's good. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
But let's say we do this on a national level. All right, can we see what's going to happen? Well, if the one side gets full power, then you could pretty much guarantee that Washington, D.C. is going to become a state and Puerto Rico is going to become a state. And this really gives the left, the Democrats, a lot of power because you're going to gain 4 new senators. Likelihood from those 2 places they're going to be
very heavy blue. Especially DC's very heavy blue.
You're going to gain 2 more House of Representatives because of the population there. Okay. Right. So you're going to have a pretty good stranglehold on things for a long time. Then what's the other thing they're going to do? They're going to get rid of the Electoral College. Already discussed. Hillary Clinton, after she lost and she had the popular vote, she was upset.
I'm glad you asked that, though. What's your opinion on the Electoral College?
Well, founding fathers, geniuses. These guys were brilliant. I mean, they were drunks and they were probably very cantankerous and not the nicest guys to be around. But boy, man, they knew their stuff. So when they sat down and they talked about compromise, Virginia's sitting there going, we got the bucks. We're the ones, we're the wealthiest state. So, you got a place like New Hampshire saying, I'm not joining into this union. Mm-hmm. I got to listen to Virginia. They're gonna be a bully. No, we're a small state. They're a big state. They're gonna beat us up. So what did Madison do? This was the Virginia plan. Right. It was not only divided government, but it was the representative government on how it was going to be. So each state, regardless of its size, we're going to get 2 representatives. There's your Senate. And each one was going to have a say, depending on the population, the size of it, in the election. Now, what does that really mean, though? What it means is this. We have 300, almost 50 million people in this country, okay? You have states, New York, California. Well, you see the electoral map, okay?
Yeah, 30. Yeah.
So you have these large places. The population's condensed, and people will turn around. The argument on the side is, hey, wait a second. I'm from California, okay? How come my vote gets counted, but it gets washed away because we get a certain amount of from the Electoral College, and another place. They get their vote and they get a say in the election, but it's not popular. Let me reverse it with Texas. Let's say the Democrats in Texas turn around and say, listen, this isn't fair. Let's just make up a number. 10 million people voted in Texas for a Democrat for president. All right. They're going to turn around and say 10 million votes just went out the window. And that is an argument. And I understand the argument. But if you understand how this nation came about, it started with these 13 colonies having to come together as a union. Mm-hmm. And there had to be a compromise in power. So they didn't want a state like Virginia that had a bigger population. Basically, they would have controlled everything. So this way, a little state, look at this. They're doing the electoral map. And they're saying, I should know this. I think it's Nebraska. Nebraska has their broken down. And there's one section that's actually one vote.
One vote, right.
One vote. And they said it actually could come down to that one. They did the things and they showed how things could go. And I turned around and I said, boy, now you see why it makes sense not to just do a popular vote. I understand the other side because you're saying, well, like 10 million votes just went by the wayside. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand, and I think we've lost sight of this as our federal government has grown, and in my opinion, too much. We've lost sight that we are 50 basically sovereign nations that have been put together that have a federal government overseeing it. But the states are supposed to run. And here's another, you go to the Constitution and they love, there's one thing that really upsets me. Mm-hmm. When they want to, Trump is going to rip up the Constitution and all the defenders of the Constitution. But what's always said, Electoral College, we're going to get rid of that. Yeah. People forget, if it's not in the Constitution, once again, framers were geniuses. It's not there. If it's not written, now we can always do an amendment, and it's difficult. Amendments are very tough to get through. 2/3 of the assembly of each state, and it's not. And they purposely made it difficult so you don't have all this in and out as the wind changes. But sometimes you do have to make amendments. But what do? They turn around and say, all right, this is our Constitution. If it's not in here, then it goes back to the states. Okay, right. We can't just, as a federal government, just start turning around and say, we're going to take that. Because they didn't want the federal government to have that much power over each state. Yeah,
I definitely see this. I definitely see the case for state rights. Obviously, I've always said that. Like, different states have different priorities.
Then let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on? If I may ask, I mean, you don't have to answer, but what is your opinion on Roe v. Wade?
It's funny because I was raised pro-life, grew up in the church and all that. I mean, I'm pro-choice now. I'm not necessarily pro-abortion. I didn't want to be. See, here's the thing, Roe v. Wade. I don't know the particulars of the actual bill itself, the actual it was written up originally. All I know is that, me personally, women's rights are protected. And is it a federal issue? I see the argument for state rights, but I feel like that issue is something that's so polarizing. Okay. And you're seeing certain states now also too that are on the right side, for example, are taking this now and using egregiously putting different amendments on there. They criminalize it now in some ways. I don't know what states are doing it exactly. I had a couple of names.
Well, Georgia had an issue. I think it was taken out of.
I just want the middle states too. I know a lot. But to the credit of the middle states too, also they're very red. They voted against a lot of these amendments that they want to put passed through. I know Kansas had a bill they wanted to put through, and and they turned that down, all that. But yeah, I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-choice. I'm not pro-abortion. I'm pro-choice.
Okay. Now here's my thing. I actually asked you the question because most people would answer it the way you answered, one way or the other. Right. I'm pro-choice or life. That really wasn't what I was looking for. Well, but I knew that's how you could answer it.
Well, yeah,
what I was looking for is, what is the law? And this is why I love the law, because the law is pretty clear. Of course, it's not, because then we wouldn't have so many lawyers. But in my opinion, somebody that looks at the law as a black and white thing, I say it's pretty clear. And what happens is lawyers get involved, an advocate group gets involved, and they start muddying up the water. So all of a sudden, this Roe v. Wade thing was like, well, they're taking away women's rights. Well, before Roe v. Wade, the rights were back with the states. So here's my thing. I have my personal issues with it. Right. It makes no difference how I feel about it. It's what the law is. So if the Constitution states that something like this, it's not listed in the Constitution, and even what's her name, Ginsburg, what was her?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
RBG. Even she turned around and she said Roe v. Wade was on shaky ground. I mean, she really looked at the law and knew that, where are you finding this in the Constitution? They came up with this privacy and all this other stuff. But the fact of the matter is, it was really a gray area. So here's what we could do. They put it back to the states. And some people aren't going to be happy with that. This is why we have the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution is your representatives, your House of Representatives. The people that want this, they want it to be the law changed. What did I tell you about amendments? It's not impossible. But what the left does is, if they have something that's not popular, that the majority doesn't want, because you remember same-sex marriage, the majority didn't want that. Even Obama turned around and said, "Oh, no, marriage is between a man and a woman," right? People forget about this. Now it's completely different. All right. What the left likes to do, though, is they punt it and they put it to the Supreme Court to decide. You guys decide. So we have 9 unelected officials deciding things for 350 million people. That is not how this was supposed to work. Our representatives are supposed to turn around and say, listen, this is what my community wants, so I'm voting this way. And if I don't vote that way in 2 years, they're going to kick my butt out and put somebody in there that does vote that way. This is where we shouldn't rely on the Supreme Court to solve every social issue. It's wrong.
So you're against the packing the Supreme Court?
I'm sorry?
You're against the packing Supreme Court on either side?
Yeah, I'm very much against it. Because just look at Venezuela and look at El Salvador for 2 starters, and I can list you a dozen more.
And even though it is 6-3 conservative to liberal,
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't. See, when it was the other way, see, this is what makes me laugh.
Right.
Who said it was a bonehead idea to pack the Supreme Court? Do you know who said that?
Who's that?
Joe Biden, 1983. In 1983, when it was a more conservative court, it's a bonehead idea. Dick Durbin of Chicago. Anybody who even thinks about packing the Supreme Court has to have their head examined.
So what's the number, you think? Because right now we're at 9, right? 9?
Yes.
Currently? What should be the number then? What is the number it should be the Supreme Court should be at? How many justices you have?
They said Roe v. Wade was in place for 50 years, and how can we undo this? We've had 9 justices in place for twice as long as that. It was a lesser number earlier on, and they bumped it up to 9.
Yeah.
I think 9's the number. See, what I'm saying is, just because you don't get your way now, be careful of using the nuclear option, because we could use it back at you. And a perfect example of that was Reed and McConnell.
Yeah.
And everybody's upset. Oh, it's a 6-3. It wouldn't be a 6-3. It wouldn't. Trust me. If Trump had to pick less conservative judges, because he needed that 60 vote count, right? Mm-hmm. If he had to pick less conservative judges, what happens more times than that? This is what happens. If you study the Supreme Court, it's an amazing thing. Senator Day O'Connor. Oh, Reagan. Oh, she's a conservative. She's this, she's that.
Very
okay.
liberal.
But she wasn't. She was a swing vote. She went either way. And
yes,
that's fine. I'm not criticizing her. But she wasn't a true blue to the right. Well, you weren't getting that right vote every time with her. Okay. And that's okay. But that's why it shouldn't have been touched. Now that it's been touched, the left is turning around and saying, this isn't fair. It's 6-3. I mean, we don't have a chance. We can't get anything through. It's just not right. Well, maybe you should have thought about that before you tried pushing the federal judges through with Harry Reid breaking the filibuster. To me, I'm actually, in the book I'm working on now, I'm actually saying this is going to be the downfall of our country. And I don't know if it's today, but and it may sound unpatriotic, and believe me, I love my country.
Of course.
But I see what's happening. I see what can happen, because once they consolidate power, they're not going to want to give it up. And if you start meddling in this system, which Reid did, you're going down a path that I can tell you what happens. It's so, because it's too tempting. Even there was another country, Brazil. Even Brazil, the temptation of their president, because now he's tasting it, and he was all for when he first got in there. Yes, everybody talks about reform, but following the courts and following this. Well, now he's having an issue, with their Federal Reserve, and he wants to oust them, and he wants, you have to be careful, and this is why you have a system in place.
Yeah.
And once you start meddling, be careful.
So filibuster, you're saying a filibuster keeps checks and balances, pretty much.
It forces compromise. Yeah. Because it's very difficult to get 60 people to agree in the Senate. The ironic part is that there was a time they had, I forget what year it was, but it had to be under Obama, I guess right after the Bush administration. Mm-hmm. They had 60 senators, the Democrats. I don't want to be mistaken. I'm going to look that up after we get off.
Right.
They had a chance, which I find very interesting, because all the stuff they saying they wanted to get, codify and all this stuff, they could have done it.
Never happened.
They could have done it. They could have fixed immigration back then. Yeah. Hey, wait a second, though. Don't think I'm not pointing my finger at the Republicans too, though, because they could have also. They could have gotten things through. This is a mess on both sides. And what I'm getting full circle for your viewers, people listening, you have to decide, who do you trust more? What was the track record of the last 4 years? You think they were okay? Let's stay on that track. If you don't, maybe look back from the 4 previous years, because we saw what that track record was. It's an individual choice. I know what my choice is. To me, it's clear. I understand for other people, like my friend who turns around, I can't vote for him.
How many friends do you have that are voting on the other side?
Oh gosh,
A lot? Oh, it's a god.
Thankfully, I shouldn't say it like this, but thankfully for my Christmas list, I don't have a lot of friends. But I would, I'll use percentages.
Okay.
I would say 50% of my friends are voting on the left. That would be
so you have a nice healthy balance of.
Yeah, but you know why? Because I'm
the same way, brother. I am the same way. I mean, I have group chats right now. I have little different group. I have a group chat of for conservatives. I talk to every single day. I got another group chat of Democrats. I talk to every single day, and we have two different discussions on the side about issues and stuff. And I'm literally the little moderate in the middle, like talk about with them all. It's fantastic. I love it.
What I think, my friends, and I have some really great friends. I don't have quantity. I have quality. And my friends that are on the left, I think what they respect about me is what I respect about them. We have a dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, like real quick, when there was this lady, very wealthy, lives in this mansion. They're only down here 2 months a year. I'm with her. My wife and I are with her. And she turns around and she starts. And this was back in, like, I guess, 2020, 2021. She hates Trump. And she turns around and she goes, we have to help these people come across the border. And I'm like, well, my wife, she came from Colombia. She thinks things legally. $10,000 for a lawyer. She worked the butt off on a cruise ship. She got a card. Then she did everything on her own. I had nothing to do with it. She had a citizenship before she met me, thankfully. So I know she didn't marry me for that. So I turned around to her and I put it back on her. And I said, well, listen, let's call her Sue. I said, listen, Sue. I go, you got this big house. You're only down here 2 months a year. You have 5 bedrooms. You and your husband are only using 1. So throughout the whole year, you could give up 4 bedrooms. So why don't you invite some of these immigrants coming over, stay in your place? Oh, no, you're being ridiculous, Steve. It's for the government to take care of. And that's why I tell them, do you know who the government is? It's us.
The funny thing though is that
we're the government. Maybe
it's just me though. The funny thing is that you actually get a lot of agreement from both sides of the aisle on immigration for the most part on the basics actually, like the closed borders. I'm definitely for closed borders myself. So, and I think a lot of liberals also too feel the same way. I guess the issue really that I've encountered in the last 10 years on the subject is more about the rhetoric and all this stuff and how it's handled. That's that. I mean, the thing is, Democrats also use this too. Also, the fact that they people say that Democrats are like anti-immigration, and yet Joe Biden and Barack Obama has deported more illegal immigrants by raw number and a percentage than any other president in the history of this country.
Remember what I told you before about numbers? Yeah. I'm always wary of numbers. I'll give you an example. I want you to pick a 3-digit number. Just pick give me a 3-digit number right now.
Okay, 100.
All right, 100. That's too easy. Let's say 125.
125. Okay, 125. Yeah.
125 times 432. You want to know what the answer is? I'm going to blow your mind right now. It's 135,262.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea what the hell it is. Yeah. People throw numbers out there and they do it just like that. We did the most. We did this. Use common sense.
Are they lying though about the number? You think? Or are they fudging numbers?
Well, under Obama, the numbers do show that he deported more. So I since I don't know enough of those numbers, I'm not going to contest those numbers.
Right.
But here's some numbers I'm going to contest with you when you compare the Trump administration to the Biden administration. Okay. When Biden came in, he undid 94 executive orders that undid the border. Even people down on the border, people in securing the border, turn around and say, this will be a disaster. And this is a common theme with Biden. If you go back to Afghanistan, he is the kind of guy that says, get it done. I don't care how you get it done. I want them out of there before September 11th. Get it done. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be this. I want it done. He's in my opinion, he's a knee-jerk type of guy.
Right.
And he did the same thing with the border. He was warned, this is going to be a mess. Nobody could tell me for the first 3.5 years of his administration that the border wasn't a mess. It was an absolute mess. So if you're going to ask me who had better control over the border, just now we'll look at the numbers. And like I said, I hate using numbers because I don't know the numbers. Okay. But apparently Trump's numbers was a fraction of what Biden's number is. But these numbers, they don't mean anything because it's the gotaways that are scaring the hell out of me. Because why are they running away? We're giving out cell phones. We're giving out credit cards. We're giving out hotels. We're giving out laundry. And you're running away from this? Can you imagine what's in this country right now? And this is what I talk about policy. So we have these bad actors in this country. Now you think about all these poor girls that were murdered. Oh my God, Lincoln Riley, and you hear these stories, you read these stories, and you can't help but cry for these families. And the worst part is it's avoidable. They should have been here. But here's the kicker. We have a system in place for ICE to take these people. Once they're detained, they're here illegally. ICE listen, when I was in New York, we had to do the same thing when we had somebody, we had to notify illegal immigration. They were taken away. Okay? Mm-hmm. In these sanctuary cities, they're not allowed to do that. It's crazy, man. That we're giving rights to people that are jeopardizing the safety and security of our own citizens. This has never been done before on the face of the earth. This is so bizarre. You have to scratch your head and say, why? I think I know why. There'd be only one reason why you would allow all these people to come flooding in. There's a town in Ohio that I just saw the other day. I forget the name of the town. They have a population of, I believe, 3,400. Small town, quaint little town, Ohio. Okay? They just got inundated with 3,000 migrants. I believe from Haiti, but don't quote me on that, but I believe it was from Haiti. Mm-hmm. They have 3,400 people in this town. They get hit with 3,000. The city managers turn around saying, we can't handle the infrastructure on this. Our sewage pipes are backing up. We have problems with our electric grid. We have problems with, there's a system. My wife followed the system. Yeah. She did it the right way. That's all I'm asking. That's why I love the law. Just follow the law. Can we not? And then don't tell me, well, it's Congress's fault. They didn't pass a law. But wait a second. Under Trump, he was able to do something with executive orders. You undid those, but you're going to point the finger somewhere else. And this is another thing that really upsets me with the one side. And I didn't come on to be overly biased tonight, but obviously it's just how I feel because I see things from a certain perspective. And I could be wrong. That's why I talk to the other side. But I've yet to see Biden's administration take responsibility for anything. Even the 13 soldiers that were killed. How can you not turn around? Afghanistan. Absolutely. Right. How can you not turn around and say, listen, it was avoidable, maybe this, maybe that, strategizing. Mistakes happen in combat. It's dreadful. But
I know, obviously, God bless the 13 soldiers we lost. I'm just glad we ended the damn thing, honestly. That Afghanistan war was a mess.
100% correct, but there's a way. Now, we'll never know. Like, Trump is going to turn around and say, I could have gotten us out of there. Right. But once again, look at the facts.
And I don't think they don't get credit enough for both guys. At the very least, Trump didn't get it done, but at least Trump started the process of ending that.
Now, one soldier was killed. Think about this.
Right.
Now, one soldier was killed. I forget how many months it was. I think it was 13, but it was over a year. Now, one soldier was killed in that last year or so of Trump's administration. Right. He turned around to the leader. He said, listen, a hair on one of my soldiers' back gets it, and you'll see what happens. He actually had a picture. I don't know if it was the same guy, but he had a picture of the guy's townhouse.
I heard about the story.
He turned around. He said, we're going to get you. And I love that, man. I love the fact, speak softly and carry a big stick. The problem I've had with this Biden administration has been the exact opposite. There's been no teeth. There's been no, he barks and he screams. On one side, Israel, we got to have a ceasefire. Have to have it. And in Ukraine, we're not even having peace talks. There's hundreds of thousands of people getting killed over there. And nobody's talking about it. And we've spent billions, tens of billions of dollars of taxpayers' money.
2 years ago, you said the same thing, too. Where are the peace talks? 2 years later,
I said that 2 years ago?
You did say 2 years ago. Where are the peace talks?
I didn't remember that. That's how long it's been going on.
2 years later, we're still having a conversation about where the peace talks. So let me ask you before I let you go.
And thank you. Thank you. This is great. I love talking to you.
I love it.
I love going off.
I love that the perspective, especially of the filibuster and breaking that down for me, especially too, because I still even though I am a political honk, there's a lot of things I'm still learning. Like I still don't understand fully that.
But you want to. That's the great part. There's so many people that don't.
Yeah. So how do you feel less than a week out now from who wins? What do you
let me give you my predictions.
Okay.
And I have to go back on my track record.
Because you did say we're going to get a red wave.
I was going to
so did I. No, but put a record, so did I.
I was just gonna tell you, listen.
So did I. Yeah.
There was no red wave, man. But you know what happened after that interview? I actually sent it to somebody. I have a friend of mine is a congressman.
Yeah.
He turned around, and a Democrat. He turned around to me and said, Dean, you're not getting a red wave. And this is from the inside. And I always forget. Too busy looking at it like this. I'm like, oh, we got inflation. We got this. We got that. We're going to kill him. The numbers aren't there. The people that are up for re-election hurt you. The system on who's running again, they're not going to lose those seats as easily. And however he explained it, but basically there were good years for the Senate to change, and this is a good year for the Republicans.
Yeah.
The way that it's set up, the map,
of course, yeah.
the Senate map, as he put it, was not set up well for the Republicans last time. This time it is. Yeah. Okay. So I didn't see this. So when I made that prediction, I was like, oh boy. And then the night of it, we barely squeaked out the House, and then we lost. I couldn't believe we lost the Senate. Yeah. And that cost us trillions.
Well, you can blame Herschel Walker.
Absolutely. I could blame even Trump on that, because he actually nominated guys that were not really good nominees for the Senate. And there was one in Pennsylvania.
What do you make? Well, a lot of it too also falls into like the election deniers, what you want to call it. What do you make of all of those guys, like the Herschel Walkers, for example? The who was Mastriano was another one. That was a governor's race, actually, I believe. So Dr. Oz was actually the other one. Right. What do you make of the election deniers? I mean, I would say that played a hard part in that.
That's one. It's the term you're using, election deniers. I mean, I guess I fall into that category because I have questions about the legitimacy.
Having questions is one thing, but denying it altogether, it's fraud. It's definitely fraud. That's a big difference.
Well, then I will say this. I disagree with them, because even J.D. Vance, who I think is a superstar, the guy is brilliant, Yale grad, law school. And my definition of genius is being able to, like, boom. So when he's on these Sunday shows, and I mean, he may have an idea what's coming, but when he could turn around in a split second, go right back at that commentator, I think it's just genius. But he turned around and said something. He was asked in the VP debate, do you accept, or, do you still think there was a fraud, or whatever, however they phrased the question, but basically saying you were an election denier. And he just couldn't turn around and just say, President Biden's my president. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is that certain things were irregularities that I hope we clean up. But he did this dance around. It was one of the few times I felt like he was caught off guard. Listen, I'm not an election denier. And I actually told my wife this yesterday. I said, you will see this. If it's a close race, I'm hoping it's not. Believe it or not, on either side. I'm hoping it's not. But if it's a close race, at about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, you're going to see both of them run to the TVs and say, I won. And, I'm the winner. Because whoever gets that foot in the door first usually has a good position. But the truth of the matter is, until, the results are in, well, nobody's the winner. But the problem is this: once the results are in, if there is fraud, there's nothing you can do. And I said this to my wife, it's too late. See, this is where I got upset with the Republicans. They were crying, this isn't fair, and they were cheating. Tough. You had a chance to clean up this damn thing, and you didn't. So don't turn around now. Yes, do I think there was cheating? I absolutely do think it was cheating. But don't turn around now and say, like the guy in Casablanca, gambling? There's gambling going on. There's cheating. So what did you do to clean it up? Some states did help. The states that did clean it up, like Florida and Ohio and a couple of more, those elections were in the same day, and it seemed like they were clean races.
Florida. I'm impressed. I've been impressed with Florida's vote counting in the last couple cycles. Very clean, done. They closed at 8 o'clock, and they reported within 2 hours. Very clean, and not just presidential. I'm talking about all the races too.
But look at the hurricane. You see the difference of leadership. What happened in North Carolina? Some people have to. You have to have. This is where you have congressional hearings, just to find out and learn from this. Not for political gain to embarrass one party over another, but to find out. Hey, listen, what happened? What happened in North Carolina? I mean, there are people still suffering, and then you have a guy like DeSantis. I mean, the last couple of years ago when they had that one bad hurricane on the West Coast, I mean, he had the bridge built within the week, like something so people can get back and forth. I mean, the guy is on the ground. This is what leadership. This is what you need. You don't need people turning around and pointing fingers. Well, Congress didn't do it. They didn't pass a bill.
I feel like if he wasn't, I feel like if he didn't lean to the whole woke stuff, the anti-woke stuff, he might have had a chance to dethrone Trump in the primaries. But I think he came out so awkward. DeSantis, he came out so awkward.
Trump. Let me tell you something. This movement, whether Trump wins or not, this will go down. People will remember Trump 100 years from now. I'll put it like that.
You kidding me? Dude, I've already said that Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, Donald Trump is the single most influential politician in my lifetime. And it's not even close, Dean. It is not even close.
I have counted him out more times. The day before, or 2 days before the election, I went to my friend who was a diehard Trump, has his MAGA hat on his windshield. And I said, Ray, he did something. I don't know if it was the Access Hollywood tape or something else he said, but it was right before the election. And I said, he ain't winning. This guy's an idiot. He can't keep his mouth shut. I have underestimated Trump just like a lot of Republican politicians have. But what I said, and I said this in the Godless v. Liberty book.
Yeah.
The reason I took a chance on Trump was I felt that his legacy was more important than anything else. And I really feel there's some corrupt politicians that think that the bottom line is the most important thing for them. He's a billionaire that signed the front of the checks. These are the people that are worth hundreds of millions. Pelosi? I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, you talk about insider trading and all this other kind of stuff that's legalized.
They'll love progressive who can't stand her. So you'll get a lot of majority of people who don't like her at all, even on the left side.
She drives me crazy. But you look at these people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and all they've ever done is be in public service. And usually I thank people for that public service, but I'm going to have a tough time thanking somebody when they're living in a $25 million mansion.
Right.
Like the Obamas have a couple of them. Listen, I know they make money afterwards, and they're very popular, and I know they signed Netflix, and I think they actually made it legitimately. I will say that because they've written their books, and in that term I do respect. So as a bad example, but there's other politicians that I raise an eyebrow to, and one of them is the guy who's in office right now. I definitely think he was the big guy.
I think his son Hunter is a scumbag anyway.
Well, who was the big guy? Who was getting the 10%? I mean, so, but all right, my predictions. My predictions are this. I think the Republicans take back the Senate. I think they grow in the House. And I think if Trump wins, you're going to know that night. If Trump doesn't, if it's not known that night, she's the next president.
So what I use, being a nerd, of course, and watching these elections. By the way, I don't like CNN, but I love watching CNN's election coverage because I love John King. I think John King's a master on the board. He's amazing.
He is.
Although Bernard Shaw was pretty awesome too back in the day. But if she has between 200 and 250 electoral votes, she's going to win. By 10 o'clock, she's going to win.
What makes you say that?
Because by 11 o'clock, you're going to have California, Oregon, Washington. That's
I see.
Right.
Now you're going out to the West Coast.
Right. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think because you're not going to see that, though, because I think these states now, even the ones that may lean red or lean blue, are going to be a little while to find out where you're at. Like, even like for a while, like how I knew Georgia was turning blue in 2020, but what about 2016 is that Georgia in the cycles prior to 2020 was taking a little bit longer to be counted for the Republican candidate. So I knew there was more resistance on the left side. And then by 2020, of course, that flipped. There's states now that are typically strong blue. It may be a while before you get the blue to come out, and vice versa in red.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah, like Texas, for example.
When I was in New York, I had very diverse group of friends because you know how New York is. You can't help.
Of course, I'm a New Yorker.
I had friends, and I was also being in the military in the reserves, a reserve unit. We had a huge group of Jamaicans in our unit, and friends of mine. Yeah. And I remember one time something was said, and somebody referred, oh well, you're black, you understand. And this guy got really upset. He's like, no, I'm Jamaican, and I just found that I didn't know. Like sometimes you don't know. Now, I actually asked other people. This is way back when. This is like 30 some odd years ago. And I said, listen, I got to ask you a question. Something happened. You're Jamaican. How do you feel about it? No, there's a difference there. I think if people revolt against Kamala, it's because she's been this chameleon. Yeah. When she went into the Senate, she was the first American Indian senator, however they worded it. I think she lacks this authenticity.
I was just going to say that.
And if people feel that way, and they don't see, my thinking is, if obviously she wins, she loses. But I think there might be a wave. See, the wave. If there's a wave, I think the wave is in Trump's favor, because the sign will be people just go, like my friend who emailed me and said, like, what am I missing? I think she may just turn around and be like, you know what? I'm just not going to vote. I don't have a conscience because I can't feel either one.
To your point, that to me, and that's if you're a Democrat, this is what should scare you, is there are way more pitfalls on her end, because Trump has his 45%, no matter how you slice it. That's going to come out no matter what. Democrats/liberals are a lot more moralistic when it comes to these kind of things, like to the point they'll spite their nose, like in 2016, for example. Like, if you like, we don't like Hillary, I don't give a damn. We're not going to vote for her. Trump wins. Oh well, we'll deal with it. That's how they operate. Yeah, that's how they operate. Right. So, you have that issue, the authenticity issue, and you have the bigger issue I've been saying for the last year now. Gaza is massive, and all my Democratic friends who have had on this podcast, we've had arguments on this already. And I'm sorry, they are naive. They are vote blue no matter who folks, who I love very much, but they're vote blue no matter who. And I keep telling you, Gaza could screw her, especially in Michigan.
I'm amazed that this is playing out, because just the other day Trump received I don't believe in it.
I saw that. I saw it
from
the Michigan mayor or whatever it was, a Michigan a Muslim chapter, what it was. Yeah.
And that surprised me.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's the prediction. I think that it's going to be, it's exciting. The good part about it is if she is elected president, I'm still hopeful, because thank God Madison had this Virginia idea and we have this divided government, and it does keep these people in check. She is a liberal. She is an extreme liberal. She has her voting record, and I don't blame her for that. What I do blame is the flip-flops without real explanations.
The fracking, not fracking, that kind of thing.
Well, and the other thing is when she's on tape, and you can go back and YouTube this stuff, but she's saying like, hey, listen, if we have to go into people's homes and take their guns, we're going to do it. And that's just like, oh, no, I'm all for the Second Amendment. It's like whatever way the wind is blowing. And I think people, and this is where I bring up the Jamaican black thing, I think she's not getting a lot, the black men are kind of turned off a bit.
Yeah.
The white women, I think, are her biggest supporters. You got to remember the women make up the majority, more than, I think it's 55% of the electoral. Right. And this is what scares me with Trump, because if he's turned off these women, but I said, in 2016, I thought he would have turned them off. But I think Hillary was so bad, and I think there was that quiet vote, and I just think that people going back to authenticity. I bring my hot sauce everywhere. And they both have a similar thing. Depending on what audience they're talking to, they have a different accent. And there
was me too. And there was an entitlement with Hillary also too. An entitlement issue. Like even I smell that mile away. Like, come on. Like, really? Like, what are we doing? Like,
what I don't like is that, when Biden, what hurts me is I hate when somebody comes in and says, I'm going to be the most transparent, administration you've ever seen. I thought Trump was. Trump would stand there for an hour and just go back and forth with the press. He's that confident.
It's funny because I'm not a Trump supporter, but people think I'm over Trump because of they think I'm soft on Trump because I like him. I think the guy is, excuse my language here, I think he's fucking hilarious. I think the guy is hysterical. The minute that Rogan interview dropped on Friday, so Dean, check out my setup real quick. I'm here watching the World Series game 1, right? And one TV. The other TV has on the Lakers game, okay? And I'm a sports fan, of course. Then I get an alert. Oh, the Rogan Trump episode's here now. I immediately thrown the headphones and started watching it immediately. The dude is say what you want. The guy's an insult comic. He's hysterical. Can I leave you?
I want to leave you with this one story.
Go ahead.
I meant to tell you the story. This is a great story, and I can't use any names because I didn't get permission to use the story. I just found the story out last night, and it had to do with this lady who reached out to me saying, "What should I do? What am I missing?" At the end of the whole thing, I'm literally leaving. Okay, and she was saying, "There's one thing else I want to tell you, Dean, and I'm not going to tell you who the celebrity was.
Yeah,
and he's not around anymore, but you would know him." And she turns around, she goes, this couple, I'm still friends with the wife. This couple was stuck on an island in a bad spot. The government fell and, they couldn't get off the island. Mm-hmm. All right. And he had contacts in the government and he reached out to the government. They said, we're going to send you a plane. And they waited. No plane showed up. So he says, I there's one other person I could call. And she's telling me the story now.
Yeah.
And I believe her because of how the things were set up. I will say that. She turns around and says he calls the other person. And he goes, plane was there like that. Okay. Got us off the island, got us back to the States.
Right.
She goes, you know who sent the plane? I go, no, who? She goes, Donald Trump. And I went like this. I said, what the hell are you asking me about then? Like, where this guy's heart is. He's a jerk. He says stupid things. I'm sure he has done things that we wouldn't want him to be around.
He's not sure. He's not if you had to pick the model of a president, he wouldn't be the one you'd pick, obviously, right?
That's the part about it. He's genuine. And it does, at first I like him, it frustrates me not because I'm upset. It's because I know how the other side is going to use it. That's what upsets me.
Right.
Me personally, I think he's funny. I think that sometimes he does things.
It's hysterical. I think it's hysterical.
I get upset because I'm kind of like, I didn't want to see Hillary win. And when that incident happened, like I said, I don't know if it was the Access Hollywood tape or something else. I just said, oh, this guy, what the hell's the matter with him? But when this lady told me that story, and I just turned around, I said, then you know, this isn't a story that's being pushed in the media now. Right. Nobody knows about the story. I found out the story last night. Trump's not turning around and trying to leak it out to the press like I did this, I did that. But there are many stories like this about Trump, that he has a big heart. Now, in business, I know personally through friends of mine that contractors, he's ruthless. To me, he's a bad guy. I would put it even that far. Right. But as a president, as helping people, I said, I think you know your answer, but that's up to you. You know he's a genuine guy. You know he has a big heart. You know he loves his country. Does he do stupid things? And that's the question you have to answer. You know, like, can you live with that or not?
Well, we'll see, man. We're 5 days away. I mean, it's crazy. We'll see what happens there. Go ahead and plug some of the work. I know you're writing a lot of books.
I'm not plugging anything. I'm writing nothing. Next time, I'm going to be done with the other book. You know, I had the Godless series. The next one will probably be out in the spring. It's great work. The research that I found out on this stuff is just blowing my mind. So, but when that happens, I'll reach out to you.
How much longer? Within a year?
Oh, no, it'll be out. The book will be done hopefully before the first of the year. But then when it goes to the publisher, there's a whole process, and that usually takes anywhere from like 3 to 5 months. So I'm hoping by the springtime it'll be out. But it doesn't matter.
I would love to write a book one day, but I just don't know what I want to write about. I got to figure out, narrow something down. I am a writer. I can write, but I just don't know.
What is your passion? You know what it is. You know what you're going to write
about. A lot of shit. I mean, I'm into sports. I'm into politics. I'm into family. I'm into have opinions on things, you know.
The whole idea of writing is you have to have a feeling. And like my wife, she's an artist. She does painting. She says every once in a while, like she doesn't paint for a while. And she goes, God, I just have to get the canvas out and just paint something.
Yeah.
I have to get it out. And when she told me that, I said, that's exactly how I feel about writing. And when people come to me, like I help people with their thing and setting up an outline and how you do it and in the process and try to be organized, because you have to be very disciplined. You can't go off.
Right.
And even if it's fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, have your chapters ready. Later on, you can merge, you can edit, but be disciplined. But what I tell people is everybody has something inside them and everybody has a story. I had a guy come up to me. I was giving a talk one time and the guy turned around after the talk and he came up to me. He goes, I always wanted to write my story, but I don't think anybody would be interested in it. And it's the first time I used the term. I turned around and said, everybody has a story to tell. I said, what is yours? And he goes, I was a fisherman. He was a fisherman. I was like really out to sea for 30 years. And he started telling me stories out there. I said, that's blowing my mind.
That's your book there? Yeah.
I mean, I think fishing's boring, but this is like, a commercial fishing. Yeah. And I turned around and I said, that's your first, what you just told me in the last 5 minutes is your first chapter. So it's just it's like anything else, just getting started. It's just getting started. It took me from the time I did this is going to be telling secrets. Yeah. From the time I started my outline for my first book, The Blue Pawn, okay, which was about my time on the NYPD. Mm-hmm. From the time I did that outline to the time it was published was over 20 years.
Yeah.
And then from there, I've written 4 books in 5 years. Because then it was just like, all right, okay, now you got to get it out. Like I broke the seal.
Broke the seal. That's it. It's out now. It's out. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I would look at the outline. I just couldn't get into it. Where do I want to go? And then all of a sudden, it was actually a specific thing that happened and inspired me to do it. But for another time.
Yeah. Luckily, I have this podcast to keep me sane until I decide to write a book. Dean, we'll talk soon. It won't be 2 years, hopefully. May the best person win, I guess, for this election. I hope it's not. Hope it's just no chaos, man. Seriously, I put too much faith in the American people sometimes. I guess I don't know. We'll see.
Ernest, God bless you and your family.
You got it, brother.
Thank you.
All right, another great episode here on the Thursday edition of the podcast. Again, thank you, of course, to the Degenerate himself, Zack, DJ Minter, Rob the Genius, of course, as always, and then my good friend Dean Simpson discussing politics as we are now, as we're recording, 5 days away from the election. I cannot wait. I'm also nervous. I'm also like, I want to get over with and all that. But anyway, we will talk soon. God bless you guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Until next episode, we will talk soon and later.
Right.